An elegant pavilion stands over bright waters as an unseen voice questions a claim. Her mother questions her ability to fulfill her wish since she cannot manifest internal energy. The young girl determinedly confirms her resolve to her mother. Offering to do anything, the girl is instructed by her mother to go to Mount Daitak. She is told that throwing a stone into the lake will summon its master. The young girl sets off on her journey toward the valley. Smiling brightly, the young girl enthusiastically agrees to the quest. Shivering from a sudden sneeze, she laments that her mother never mentioned the extreme cold. Trembling in the snow, she reasons her mother simply forgot, but realizes she cannot continue like this. Preparing to shift her form, she raises her hands with a determined shout. She leaps into the air and shifts into her animal form. Landing as a white kitten, she finds that the freezing cold still pierces her fur. She sighs, wishing she could use internal energy to scale the mountain instantly. The cold mountain winds howl across the desolate snowy clefts. The tiny kitten bravely pushes forward through the relentless blizzard. Her eyes widen in pure amazement as she spots something ahead. She gazes at the majestic frozen lake, realizing her mother was right about its existence. Sliding onto the ice, she safely shifts back into her human form. Warmly blowing on her cold hands, she expresses a deep relief at making it. She tries to lift a giant boulder to throw into the lake as instructed. Giving up on the boulder, she opts for a much smaller, manageable stone instead. A booming voice demands to know who dared to throw a stone at them. Startled by the telepathic voice, she trembles as the lake begins to churn violently. A colossal white snake with menacing red eyes rises majestically from the water. She stands frozen in sheer terror at the sight of the giant white snake. The snake questions if such a tiny child dared strike him, leaving her paralyzed with fear. She recalls her mother promising to finally accept her if she retrieves the inner core. Driven by the desire to be loved by her family, she resolves to succeed. Gaining her courage, she hesitantly asks the giant serpent if he is the lake's master. Amused, the snake confirms that locals indeed call him the master of the lake. Believing she has found her target, she kneels before the massive serpent. Tears stream down her face as she prepares to make her desperate request. She begs him loudly to give her his core, leaving the massive snake completely dumbfounded. A system narration explains that a core is the condensed internal power of an ancient spiritual creature. The snake realizes someone is using this innocent child, as giving his core means death. Despite the snake asking if she understands what a core is, she persistently demands it. The snake tries to reason with her, but she repeatedly cuts him off with frantic begging. Irritated by her relentless demands, the white snake reveals his fangs and angrily refuses. Their argument is interrupted as a mysterious newcomer arrives to investigate the noise. The white-haired elder smiles warmly, noting the incredible scene unfolding before him. The girl nervously wonders if this new elder has also come to claim the core. She suddenly notices a familiar cloud pattern embroidered on the elder's blue uniform. Panic sets in as she recognizes the emblem of the dreaded Namgung Clan. She reflects on her heritage as a proud member of the Myogajang clan of cat shifters. She recalls that the wicked Namgung Clan of dog shifters has always tormented them. She remembers the bitter truth that the Namgung Clan was responsible for her clan's ruin. Overhearing stories of their warriors' throats being ripped out, she trembles in fear. She shudders at the thought of the cruel dog shifters who dwell within that terrifying clan. Looking up at the looming elder, she fears she is nothing but a snack to him. Trapped between the giant white snake and a terrifying dog shifter, she cries out to her mother in despair. The white-haired elder asks the terrified young girl why she wants the snake's core. Trembling with fear, the girl worries the elder might eat her if she reveals her true intentions. She stammers nervously as both the giant white snake and the elder wait for her answer. Terrified, she suddenly transforms into a tiny white kitten and frantically leaps away from them. Recognizing her as a Myogajang clan beastman, the elder shouts for her to wait as she flees. The white-haired elder yells in alarm, desperately trying to get the fleeing child to stop. The tiny kitten sprints blindly ahead as the elder warns her of danger. To her horror, the kitten plunges straight off the edge of a steep, snowy cliff. She tumbles helplessly through the freezing air, realizing she has made a fatal mistake. Mid-fall, the kitten mentally apologizes to her mother for failing to retrieve the core. She tearfully remembers her mother's rare, cold embrace, mourning her inability to please her. The elder and his green-robed companion spot her motionless body at the bottom of the gorge. The elder urgently orders his companion, Dangimu, to check on the fallen kitten immediately. After examining her, Dangimu somberly informs the devastated elder that there is no hope. The elder learns the tragic truth that the kitten's energy channels are completely severed. A system notification explains that meridians are the vital channels of energy for any martial artist. The narration details how beastmen rely on internal energy, which is impossible with ruined meridians. Blocked energy makes it almost impossible for a beastman to survive the harsh world. The men realize her clan discarded her because she is a martial arts cripple. The elder grimly concludes that her family intentionally sent her on a suicide mission. As her consciousness fades, the dying kitten finally realizes her mother's cruel betrayal. She realizes her mother hid the extreme dangers of the mountain to ensure she died. The compassionate elder gently cradles the freezing, dying kitten wrapped in his warm blue sleeve. Safe in his arms, the kitten finds unexpected comfort in the elder's gentle embrace. A strange mystical sensation washes over her as she takes what seems to be her final breath. She hears a familiar childhood lullaby and wonders if her mother has come to find her. A sharp pain jolts her awake as 3 glowing flower marks appear on her wrist. With a sudden gasp, she collapses face first into the freezing snow. Sitting up, she is bewildered by the sudden return of the biting mountain cow. The massive white snake suddenly speaks, demanding she answer his original question. The giant serpent asks again if she even understands what an inner core is. She stares at her hands in disbelief, realizing she is back at the lake completely uninjured. She looks up as the white-haired elder arrives, speaking the exact same words as before. She freezes in shock, staring at the repeating scene with wide, terrified eyes. She realizes with absolute certainty that she has somehow returned to life before her death. Accepting the impossible reality, she recognizes that she has been granted a second chance. The elder repeats his query about the core, leaving her struggling to formulate a safe response. She remembers the elder's future words, painfully recalling how her clan sent her here to die. The dark, cruel truth of her family's betrayal weighs heavily on her young heart. Oblivious to her inner turmoil, the elder and the massive snake converse lightheartedly. The narrator identifies the elder as Namgung Ho, the legendary and powerful Sword King. Namgung Ho explains to his old friend that he came to share a friendly drink. He solemnly gazes at the lake, noting it is the anniversary of Lady Wick's passing. Turning his attention back to the kneeling girl, the elder asks if she has finished thinking. The elder presses her for an answer, stating he cannot wait any longer. Terrified but resolute, the young girl hesitantly admits that her mother sent her. When the elder gasps in shock, she desperately tries to take the blame herself. Using telepathy, the elder and the white snake silently condemn her mother's heartless cruelty. The elder asks for her home, but she refuses to reveal she is a cat beast man. Recalling his gentle kindness from her previous life, she wonders if she can trust him. The young girl desperately hopes the kind elder will take her in since she is homeless. She worries that despite the elder's kindness, he will hesitate to adopt a Myogajang Clan cat beastman. Giant white snake's booming voice startles the trembling girl as he demands an answer to his question. Startled by the sudden shout, the young girl's white cat ears pop out of her hair buns. She resolves to hide her secrets despite her terror, while the elder recognizes her Myogajang Clan heritage. The serpent wonders why a prominent Myogajang Clan child is here, prompting the elder to identify her as their energy-crippled daughter. The elder laments the heartless cruelty of her family sending such a young child to a certain death. The elder worries that the abandoned girl will freeze to death if left alone on the mountain. Tears fall as the girl tearfully asks if her mother intentionally sent her here to die. Soft sniffling escapes the heartbroken child as tears stream down her face, her cat ears drooping. The white-haired elder gazes down at her, his heart breaking for the suffering child before him. He remembers a tender past request to always show compassion toward young, helpless creatures in need. He recalls his beloved wife embracing him warmly amidst falling petals and fluttering butterflies. Staring at his hand, he remembers his late wife's soft plea and resolves to honor her memory. Looking at the crying girl, a spark of resolve ignites as he considers taking her in. The desolate winter scene seems to soften with warmth as pink flowers bloom around the weeping child. When the elder gently asks for her name, she hesitantly reveals that it is Seol. The elder condemns her mother's cruelty, making the giant snake realize he intends to adopt her. With a warm and welcoming gesture, the elder holds out his hand and invites her to join him. White Snake roars in disbelief at the elder's decision to bring a cat into his clan. Despite the snake warning of clan opposition, the girl is deeply touched by the elder's genuine kindness. Overcoming her fear, she tentatively reaches forward to take his hand and accept his offer. Exhausted and freezing, her body begins to fail just as she reaches for the elder. The elder gasps in panic as the young girl suddenly loses consciousness and collapses into the snow. He quickly scoops the limp, unconscious girl into his arms with deep concern for her life. The serpent jokingly blames the elder's sudden proposal for shocking the frail child into fainting. As the elder checks her pulse, a look of sudden confusion and worry washes over his face. The green-robed ally, Dangamu, arrives to investigate as the elder declares her acupoints to be severely damaged. While Dangamu thinks her condition is normal for someone without internal energy, the elder disagrees. The system reveals that her internal pathways are completely blocked and choked like a ruined mountain path. The elder uses his own internal energy to probe deeper and inspect her blocked meridians. A brilliant surge of blue light flashes as the elder channels his formidable inner power. The elder shocks his companion by revealing that he detects both yin and yang energies inside her. He solemnly diagnoses Seol with a legendary and extremely deadly condition called Yin-Yang severed meridians. The system explains that severed meridians are a rare, congenital, and incurable blockage of energy flow. This condition inevitably leaves victims weak with chronic illness, causing them to die at a young age. Seol's unique yin-yang severed meridians trap conflicting dual energies inside her, drastically shortening her lifespan. Cocooned safely in the elder's warm robes, the unconscious girl rests with a peaceful expression. Dang Emu warns she could die any second, but the elder proposes the impossible idea of curing her. The elder believes that curing her meridians would unlock an incredibly rare and powerful physical constitution. He realizes she would be uniquely qualified to master the legendary Yin-Yang divine art. The system defines the Yin-Yang divine art as the ultimate martial style utilizing both elemental flows. The elder reveals that finding a disciple capable of learning this art is his lifelong dream. Dang Emu sympathizes but points out that the cure has been lost to history for centuries. When Dang Emu doubts anyone alive knows the cure, the elder hints he already has someone in mind. Dang Emu teases the elder about his daughter-in-law, the legendary medical master Bing Iwa. Dang Emu defends her, reminding the elder of Bing Yuwa's unrivaled status as a medical genius. Dang Emu notes that she is unfortunately away on a journey, confirming the elder's absolute seriousness. Dang Emu remains skeptical of her odds, but the elder confidently insists she can be saved. Dang Emu raises the final looming obstacle that a cat beastman can never join their dog-shifter clan. An inner memory reminds Namgung Ho that he knows his clan's elders better than anyone. Dang Emu warns that the elders will reject a cat, but Namgung Ho remains resolute. Wrapped in cozy robes, the unconscious cat beastkin girl rests peacefully in the elder's arms. Gaining resolve, Namgung Ho silently cradles the sleeping girl as the cold winter wind blows. Namgung Ho decides to worry about the clan's acceptance later, focusing first on her survival. Namgung Ho tells Dang Emu they must do everything possible to keep her alive until Yuha returns. Interrupting Dang Emu, Namgung Ho seriously demands that his companion hand over a precious item. Dang Emu asks in disbelief if he means the special item retrieved from Mount Dachok. Dang Emu furiously calls Namgung Ho senile, but the elder argues that the child's life is worth it. Namgung Ho shamelessly demands the precious item while Dang Emu stubbornly refuses to give it up. Steps echo on the courtyard floor as the scene shifts back to the training grounds. Young disciples swing their wooden swords in unison during their rigorous daily martial arts training. Inside the grand estate of the Namgung Clan, instructors guide their students through another set. The instructor dismisses the training disciples, announcing that it is finally time for dinner. The disciples bow respectfully as the Grand Patriarch, Namgung Ho, walks past carrying his bundle. Watching him walk past, the training disciples whisper in confusion about what the Patriarch is carrying. One disciple wonders if their grandfather was carrying a sweet potato, leaving the other baffled. The Patriarch quietly carries his wrapped bundle through the stone gate toward his private quarters. A joyful voice rings out, calling to the Patriarch as he enters the inner courtyard. Namgung Ho's youngest grandson, Namgung Juk, runs up excitedly to greet his returned grandfather. Namgung Ho asks what his grandson wanted, and the boy eagerly asks about the inner core. Namgung Juk asks about the core, making Namgung Ho wonder if cores are trendy nowadays. The boy reminds his grandfather of his excuse, making Namgung Ho realize his own forgetfulness. A sharp, playful tap lands on the boy's head as he cries out in shock. The elder brother arrives, telling Jack to read the room and realize grandfather was teasing. Namgung Ho's second grandson, Namgung Hook, lecturefully declares that Orthodox sect members shouldn't say such things. Namgung Ho praises Hook for acting like a responsible older brother now that he is 9. Namgung Ho frowns slightly, noting that the eldest grandson is missing once again today. Namgung Ho understands his absence given the anniversary, but the youngest grandson tries to speak. Hook notices the bundle in his grandfather's arms and asks what snake Grandpa gave him. Namgung Ho pulls back the robe to reveal the sleeping girl, surprising both of his grandsons. The two brothers scream in absolute shock, demanding to know who this girl is. When Namgung Ho explains she is a cat beastkin he found, the boys gasp in disbelief. Namgung Ho warns them to keep her identity secret, prompting different reactions from his grandsons. Namgung Ho promises to handle any objecting elders, but Ho clarifies that wasn't his concern. Hyuk explains his worry that the young girl will be terrified when she finally wakes up. Hook trails off, reminding his grandfather of what their Namgung clan truly is. An ominous silhouette of a drooling wolf symbolizes their clan's nature as predators. The grand building of the wolf clan looms, emphasizing the danger for a cat beastskin. The terrifying wolf shadow returns as Hyuk warns they could chew a kitten up completely. A dark, dramatic view of the clan courtyard serves as Hyuk's final stark warning. Namgung Ho contemplates Hook's words, wondering if the child will truly be terrified of them. He recalls her tearful plea, realizing she already knew they were wolf beastkin when she asked. Namgung Ho asks his grandsons if they will bully her because she is weaker than them. The grandsons immediately protest, promising they will treat her nicely and protect her. Relieved, Namgung Ho declares that their kindness is much more important than being predators. He suddenly remembers that they must prepare food for her when she finally wakes up. Namgung Ho hands a small wrap bag to Hyuk, asking him to have the kitchen stir-fry it. Hyuk is shocked upon receiving the bag, looking up at his grandfather in complete disbelief. The scene shifts to a storage room as a panicked voice calls out for the young lady. A maid aggressively grabs the young lady's arm, causing her to cry out in pain. Dragged roughly through the dark corridor, she weakly protests that she is not acting out. The maid questions her sharply when she mentions she was only packing her precious treasures. The maid snatches the wooden box and dumps her meager belongings onto the floor. She sadly explains that she imagined the cheap string and pebbles were beautiful jewelry. She recalls her sister Ga-ryong receiving gifts, wishing she would also receive parentally bestowed treasures. Dragged further away, she laments how long it has been since she saw her mother. She remembers the dark day her parents abandoned her after learning she lacked internal energy. She fondly remembers being praised as a child prodigy and the Myo clan's future successor. The clan healer solemnly informs her family that her severed meridians are currently completely incurable. Her mother is horrified to learn she is broken while she desperately tries to comfort her. Her mother coldly declares her useless, shattering the young girl's hopes in an instant. Deemed a nuisance, she is ordered locked away as her mother ignores her very existence. Watching her sister, she deeply envies her and wishes to receive her mother's love once more. The maid scolds her harshly, warning her to stop bothering her mother any longer. She desperately begs her mother to listen, promising to do absolutely anything she asks. Her mother wears a cruel smirk and asks her to climb the dangerous Mount Daichok. Under a false embrace, her mother softly commands her to travel to the snowy mountain peak. And never come back, her mother whispers, causing her to suddenly gasp awake from the nightmare. She realizes it was a dream, remembering how she died on the mountain and woke up. Sitting up in bed, she wonders where she is when a gentle voice welcomes her awake. Patriarch Namgung Ho enters carrying a plate of food, prompting her to recognize him in surprise. Quickly sitting up, she sheepishly thanks him for saving her life on the mountain. An incredibly loud growl suddenly echoes from her empty stomach, breaking the quiet moment. Blushing, she notices the traditional sweets and realizes how incredibly hungry she has been. She excitedly wonders if the food he carries is a plate of traditional sweets. Hoping he is kind, she considers asking for a candied fruit as he watches her. She is suddenly struck with disappointment upon realizing there is no candied fruit. Panicked, she immediately drops to her knees and bows, apologizing profusely to the confused elder. Trembling on the floor, she explains she was just hungry and overstepped her bounds. She tearfully begs him not to punish her, causing his expression to soften with concern. While she fears his anger, he gently reassures her that the sweets are actually for her. He explains the sweets are hers, but insists she eat a proper meal first. He calls out to the servants to bring in the specially prepared hot dinner. A massive, lavish feast is served as he kindly notes she is far too thin. She stammers in shock at the feast while he encourages her to dig in. A sudden shout from outside startles her as someone demands to carry a dish. Frantic voice warns that spilling the incredibly precious item would be a total disaster. A child's voice boasts that he can carry the dish much better than his brother. The patriarch lets out a tired sigh as the childish bickering continues just outside the door. He scolds the two boys as they tumble into the room bickering over the dish. The brothers explain they simply wanted to welcome the young lady now that she is awake. They proudly present the legendary dish, leaving her completely baffled by its incredible name. She searches her memories, vaguely recalling the legendary name of the rare herb. She realizes that this fabled plant is actually an incredibly rare and legendary life-saving elixir. A realization strikes her like a lightning bolt, causing her eyes to widen in utter disbelief. She wonders in disbelief if this powerful clan actually eats legendary elixirs as side dishes. High up on a branch, a mysterious white-haired girl observes the courtyard under the moon. Her bright blue eyes convey quiet curiosity as butterflies flutter gently around her. Whispering that it is none of her concern, she watches the peaceful snowfall. As the grand wooden ceiling looms, a voice breaks the silence, beginning to explain. The narrator introduces Namgung Hook with his hair tied back, alongside his younger brother Namgung Jack. The excited brothers bombard the bewildered young cat girl with rapid questions about her identity and origins. Hyuk gasps in surprise as the hand suddenly reaches down and takes away the precious dish. Grandfather Namgung Ho furiously orders both boys to leave before they cause the guest indigestion. Clad in a fiery aura, the angry patriarch intimidates the two boys into silent compliance. After the boys obediently retreat, the narrative notes that the room has finally calmed down. While the grandfather sighs at the boy's energy, the young girl quietly observes how kind he is. He warmly invites her to eat, prompting her to marvel at the incredibly delicious feast before her. The cautious young girl warns herself not to be greedy, fearing she might get kicked out. Despite her caution, she remains incredibly tempted as she looks toward the side of the table. Looking longingly at the plate of traditional sweets, she wishes she could taste just one of them. Grandfather teasingly points out that she seems to prefer sweets over a proper meal, startling her. After she sheepishly explains her gaze, he gently suggests she try a special dish first. The girl is struck by the shocking realization that the dish is the legendary 10,000-year foti. She freezes in absolute shock as the grandfather holds the legendary herb up to her mouth. She flusteredly insists she can feed herself, but ends up taking the bite from him anyway. A sudden, overwhelming shock hits her taste buds as her eyes widen in sheer disbelief. Her mind screams in agony at the unimaginably bitter taste of the legendary medicine. Seeing her distress, the grandfather chuckles and asks if the medicine is very bitter. He explains she must chew it well for her health, leaving her to miserably swallow it down. Praising her, the grandfather immediately rewards her by offering one of the coveted traditional sweets. He tenderly pats her head, repeating that she did an excellent job taking her medicine. He kindly encourages her to eat the sweet reward as her cheeks blush deep red. She finds it deeply strange to receive such high praise just for swallowing some medicine. Taking a bite of the traditional treat, her heart melts at its incredibly rich sweetness. The grandfather suddenly asks if she feels any strange sensations happening inside her body. She realizes she does indeed feel a warm, ticklish energy beginning to stir near her navel. When she mentions the feeling, he excitedly confirms that she is sensing her energy center. Preparing to guide her, the elder instructs her to focus entirely on that rising internal energy. Grandfather explains that she must actively circulate the powerful medicine to absorb its energy properly. He notes that since she doesn't know how, he will have to guide her. He directs her to imagine sending the energy throughout her body, which she immediately attempts. Closing her eyes, she enters a deep state of focus as the radiant white energy flows. She marvels at the refreshing energy, feeling entirely new paths in her body opening up beautifully. Her deep concentration is suddenly broken when the grandfather sharply commands her to stop. Addressing her as Seol, he stares in shock, making her worry she went too far. Fearing she ruined the medicine, Seol tearfully apologizes to the silent elder. The grandfather's stern expression suddenly melts into a brilliant, joyfully radiant smile. He enthusiastically praises her incredible talent, comparing her genius to that of his own grandson's. He places a warm, reassuring hand on her shoulder as she looks at him in confusion. The former patriarch proudly looks down at Seol, completely captivated by her immense potential. She blushes and tenses slightly as he leans in close with an intense, bright gaze. The elder recalls he only intended to keep her alive with the 10,000-year foti. He notes he only wanted to repair her damaged blood points, but she exceeded all expectations. Grandfather marvels at how quickly her incredible energy sensitivity allowed her to follow his lead. He realizes the legends of those with yin-yang severed meridians having extraordinary talent are entirely true. Overjoyed, the grandfather resolves to personally train Seol, declaring her a once-in-a-lifetime prodigy. Seol gasps in absolute shock when he reveals they are at the Namgung Clan estate. He kindly confirms her suspicion, revealing that he is indeed the former head of the Namgung Clan. The former patriarch suggests that learning martial arts from him is a great opportunity, leaving the girl surprised. Getting up quickly, she calls him her benefactor, prompting him to repeat the title in confusion. With clasped hands, she politely explains that she views him as a great hero and savior. Chuckling warmly, the elder commends her sophisticated vocabulary but prepares to say something else. Bowing her head in sadness, she explains that she cannot use internal energy. The elder gasps in dismay as she laments that she won't meet his expectations. The patriarch inwardly regrets speaking too hastily, remembering how she was abandoned for lacking energy. She eagerly offers to do chores as a maid, but he firmly rejects the idea. Stunned, she tearfully gasps when he states she is a guest of the former patriarch. He kneels down to her level and holds her face gently amidst glowing white flowers. She tentatively asks if she can stay, and he reassures her that no one will object. He gently pats her head, apologizing for pressuring her and getting ahead of himself. Her amber eyes fill with tears of relief as she looks up at his kind hand. She softly forgives him, calling him grandfather, which he deeply appreciates. The grandfather instructs her to rest and orders a nearby maid to attend to her with utmost respect. The maid points out that making fitting clothes will take 3 days, reminding the elder of the need. The grandfather hums thoughtfully, tapping his chin as the maid awaits his decision. The elder commands the maid to use that outfit for now, leaving the maid completely shocked. The maid anxiously agrees to prepare it immediately, while the girl watches in silent confusion. The girl notes the maid's dark, worried expression regarding the mysterious outfit. Clutching her sleeves, the young girl wonders what kind of clothes they could possibly be. Crouching down, she continues to worry about the true nature of the outfit. The maid politely asks that they should go, breaking the girl's anxious thoughts. Bowing politely, the girl bids the grandfather goodnight as he wishes her a peaceful sleep. The maid kindly guides the young lady out of the room, prompting a quiet response. While the maid smiles warmly, a dark shadow looms as she inwardly frets about the outfit. Noting the pavilion is vast, the maid offers her hand to prevent the girl from getting lost. Feeling the warm hand, she learns the maid's name is Mei Ran and feels relieved. Mei Ran tells her to wait in the room while the girl remembers she wanted clothes. The girl asks if the grandfather has a granddaughter, learning that daughters are incredibly rare. The girl asks whose clothes she will wear, making the maid sweat nervously. Mei Ran apologizes, explaining she shouldn't carelessly speak of her master's private affairs. Understandingly, the girl decides not to pry further to avoid making Mei Ran angry. The maid happily promises to make it up to her by assisting with her bath. A massive, steamy, indoor hot spring bathhouse is revealed, shocking the young girl. Mei Ran cheerfully welcomes the young lady to the hot spring while carrying a wooden bucket. Terrified of the water, the cat girl frantically reminds herself that cats and water are natural enemies. The girl relaxes in the warm water, surprising the panicked maid who feared it was too hot. The girl worries about wasting hot water and making the maid work too hard. Mei Ran kindly encourages her to speak more comfortably, guiding her to call her by name. The maid gently brushes the girl's wet hair, telling her to ask for anything she needs. Mei Ran asserts the girl deserves to be pampered, but suddenly freezes mid-sentence. Believing she overstepped her bounds, the maid quickly apologizes to the confused girl. Mei Ran reassures her that guests are rare and she simply wants to serve her well. Smiling in the warm water, the girl marvels at how kind Mei Ran is. She happily reflects on the kindness of the Namgung Clan when Mei Ran suddenly gasps. Mei Ran points out 2 red snowflake birthmarks, which the girl confirms she's had since birth. The girl explains her name, Seol, comes from them, but suddenly pauses in confusion. Staring at her arm's reflection in the water, she realizes one of her 3 birthmarks has disappeared. She looks at her wrist in silent bewilderment, wondering why one of her birthmarks vanished. Mei Ran enthusiastically begins drying her off, while the girl silently wonders if her missing birthmark is related to her traveling back in time. Mei Ran invites her to choose any outfit she likes from the large, colorful selection, leaving the young girl completely amazed by the variety. Mei Ran dims the lamp and kindly offers her nighttime assistance before Seol politely bids her a peaceful goodnight. The young girl lies completely awake in the vast, quiet bed, unable to sleep. Wide awake, the overwhelmed girl laments that she cannot sleep after such an eventful day. Lying awake, she reflects on Mei Ran's kindness, her missing birthmark, and the mysterious clothes. Unable to settle her racing thoughts, the young girl decides to step outside for some fresh air. Stepping out, the girl is captivated by the beautiful, serene night landscape of the estate. Looking down, she is startled to see a mysterious white figure wandering in the dark garden. Horrified, the anxious girl instantly panics at the terrifying thought of it being a ghost. Mei Ran smiles in surprise as she repeats the girl's bizarre claim about seeing a ghost. The girl insists she saw a ghost, explaining she even pinched herself to ensure it wasn't a dream. While the girl describes the lanternless figure, Mei Ran firmly asserts that ghosts are absolutely impossible in their clan. Mei Ran explains that the grandfather is scarier than any ghost, a humorous claim the girl quietly agrees with. Mei Ran laughs that their fierce leader would scare any ghost away, leaving the girl deeply puzzled about what she saw. The young girl thoughtfully recalls that the mysterious nighttime figure was clad in stark white clothing. The girl notes the figure seemed incredibly lonely, prompting a sudden realization from a startled Mei Ran. Mei Ran clarifies the figure was actually her grandfather, shocking the girl who calls him her benefactor. Mei Ran explains that the Grand Patriarch has been suffering from severe, persistent insomnia for several years. Sitting at the table, the grandfather warmly invites the young girl to begin their breakfast. He shares his afternoon plans and suggests fleece flour for dinner, which she softly accepts. She notices his exhausted appearance, confirming the lonely figure she saw last night was indeed him. She deeply sympathizes with his insomnia, recalling how her own mother suffered from the very same condition. She laments that her kind benefactor is forced to endure such a painful, exhausting struggle. He teasingly asks if she wants to be hand-fed, prompting a flustered denial from her. She asks to explore the pavilion with Mei Ran, wishing to grow closer to her helper. He kindly grants her full permission to explore, eliciting an overjoyed thank you from her. She resolves to finish her meal quickly and locate the estate's medical hall to help him. Her main objective is to find some sun-greeting grass to cure her benefactor's severe insomnia. While she eagerly eats to prepare, her grandfather watches in concern, wondering if she was starved. She determinedly views this task as her perfect opportunity to repay his immense warmth and kindness. The clan's head physician unexpectedly informs her that they do not carry any sun-greeting grass. The young girl stares up in utter disbelief at the physician's unexpected response. The physician sweats nervously under her intense questioning gaze, unsure of how to proceed. She remains completely dumbfounded, processing the shocking revelation that they lack the common herb. The physician is suddenly captivated by how incredibly adorable the young girl looks when she gasps with teary eyes. A group of medical staff squeals in absolute adoration, completely charmed by the young girl's cute appearance. An angry supervisor furiously orders the adoring staff back to work, scolding them for bothering the patriarch's guest. The physician apologizes for the noisy distraction before asking her why she is searching for the sun-greeting herb. After she explains she wants to make sleep medicine, the physician agrees that sun-greeting grass is highly effective for inducing sleep. She questions why they lack the herb since it grows easily, receiving a hesitant response from the physician. The physician explains that the Namgung Clan has no need for sleep medicine, leaving the girl utterly confused. He explains that the clan members pass out from exhaustion at night, making her wonder if they require a different treatment. When she mentions the Grand Patriarch's condition, the physician reveals there is a specific reason for his situation as well. He reveals that the Grand Patriarch absolutely despises the smell of sun-greeting grass, shocking the young girl. Mayran realizes the girl's intentions and notes that the Patriarch has incredibly stubborn and strong preferences. Learning why the herb isn't stocked, the helpful young girl slumps in complete disappointment. They quickly reassure her that the medical hall brews other highly effective tonics for his sleep. They quietly admit none of the tonics work, right before the angry supervisor barks at them again. Mayran helpfully suggests she can find the herb growing in the garden, as it is commonly used as a food garnish. Mayran comforts a disappointed Seol, assuring her that her kind intentions will surely touch the Grand Patriarch. Mayran offers to show her around elsewhere, but Seol politely declines to avoid being a bother. Bowing respectfully, Seol thanks the physician while he waves off her gratitude with a warm smile. As Seol walks away, the medical staff watch her departure with pitying looks. Feeling deeply sympathetic, the medical staff regret making Seol even more upset with their chatter. Holding her benefactor's hand, Seol feels overwhelmed by how much kindness Angong has given her. Gazing out at the grand estate, the young girl ponders what she can possibly do to help. Looking back, Seol remembers her mother suffering from severe insomnia, which others blamed on her lack of internal energy. Clutching her blanket, she sadly recalls fearing her mother rejected her because of that painful sleeplessness. Desperate to help, she remembers pleading with a frustrated maid until she learned about the sun-greeting herb. She fondly recalls preparing the medicine, hoping that a carefully made remedy would finally win her mother's love. A sudden crash shatters the quiet night as her hope falls and breaks onto the floor. Her mother coldly commands her to turn around, rejecting the medicine and her presence entirely. Sobbing, the young girl tries to speak, but her mother harshly demands that she turn around. Standing amidst the shattered pieces, the heartbroken child is ordered to leave immediately without another word. Looking at the dark shadow before her, she realizes she already knew the harsh truth back then. Amidst the dark night, she sadly reflects that she was completely insignificant to her own mother. The sudden spark, a candle flickers to life in the quiet of her dark room. Despite her fears of rejection, Seol sneaks out into the night, resolved to help her kind benefactor. Recalling how warmly Ngong embraced and comforted her, she resolves to repay his immense kindness. Silently apologizing to Mayran, she hurries out to pick the sun-greeting herb from the garden. Running in the dark, she suddenly gasps as her foot catches on a small stone. Losing her balance, she tumbles forward onto the cold ground with a startled cry. Sitting on the floor, she winces in pain, regretting her reckless running as her knees throb. Hearing a strange rustling sound nearby, the young girl halts and looks around in absolute silence. Her hair stands on end as she nervously wonders if a ghost is lurking nearby. Boldly standing up, she reassures herself that Ngong is far scarier than any ghost. Determined to ignore her fear, she quickly runs off to grab the herb as a mysterious figure watches. Standing hidden in the shadows, Yunggong watches her with deep confusion, wondering what she is doing. He spots the young girl carefully gathering the sun-greeting herbs in the dark garden path. Catching a whiff of the herb, Yunggong suddenly chokes on the bitter scent, realizing what she gathered. Looking at the neatly gathered herbs by her lantern, he wonders if she is playing house. The next morning, Ngon looks down in surprise at the mysterious dark pill sitting on his table. Mayran happily explains that the young lady stayed up late last night to make them herself. Stunned, Yunggong stares blankly as Mayran describes them as pills to cure his insomnia. Ngong realizes she braved the cold night alone just to pick the herbs for his sake. The grandfather is deeply moved by how incredibly thoughtful and caring the young child is. When he thanks her, Seol beams with absolute joy, completely catching him off guard. He gently notes she didn't have to go through such trouble, causing her to panic defensively. Seol quickly explains she knows he strongly dislikes the scent of the sun-greeting herb. Clutching her dress, she reminds him that good medicine is bitter just like her own food. She loudly insists that Engong must take his medicine just as she takes hers. Red-faced, Seol passionately commands her grandfather not to be a picky eater. In the kitchen, the servants gossip about the patriarch ordering meals for two lately. The servants confirm he always dines with the young girl he brought to the clan. They find it hard to imagine the fierce leader gently feeding her at every single meal. The servant wonders why he is so gentle when he is famously strict with his grandsons. In the main hall, Seol continues her adorable scolding, telling him not to be picky. An awkward silence fills the room as Eunglung and Meiran stand frozen in utter shock. While Meiran panics over the girl's boldness, Eunglung breaks into a warm chuckle. The Grand Patriarch laughs heartily at the young girl's cute and bold scolding. Stunned by her boldness, Meiran stands completely frozen while the Patriarch laughs in amusement. Seol earnestly insists she only wants what is best for him, which Eunglung warmly acknowledges. After Eunglung promises to heed her advice, Seol's face lights up with absolute joy. Eunglung stands with his hands on his hips, prompting Seol's curiosity about a new topic. He gently questions the stiff title of benefactor, but she nervously explains she called him grandfather out of ignorance. She insists the formal title is a respectful way to thank him, but he still finds it too distant. Crouching down to her eye level, Eunglung emphasizes that the term sounds far too formal. He warmly suggests returning to the title of grandfather, though she worries it might seem rude. He gives an enthusiastic thumbs up, and she hesitantly agrees to address him as grandfather. He praises her sweet response and decides to affectionately address her simply as Seol. Watching them, Meiran smiles warmly, relieved that her initial worries about him scolding the girl were wrong. Sharing a heartwarming moment, the grandfather playfully lifts a delighted Seol into the air. Gentle morning sunlight streams into the quiet room as birds chirp peacefully outside. Seol struggles to open her eyes, feeling incredibly drowsy after her late-night herbal gathering. Meiran gently checks if she is awake, and the sleepy girl groggily admits her exhaustion. Seol resolves never to stay up late again, while Meiran encourages her to sleep well to grow strong. Learning that the patriarch loved her medicine, Seol sleepily asks if it really seemed that way. Meiran confirms this before surprising the young girl by announcing that a visitor has arrived. A polite formal voice greets the young lady as the sliding door slowly creaks open. Bowing respectfully, a refined man with glasses introduces himself as Namgung Suo, the chief seneschal. An awkward, quiet silence temporarily fills the room as Meiran and the seneschal wait. Feeling incredibly shy around the newcomer, Seol hides behind her blanket while Meiran prompts a greeting. Peeking out in her lovely new dress, the young girl timidly offers a quiet hello to the visitor. The chief seneschal is instantly struck by how incredibly adorable and charming the young girl looks. Noticing her beautiful new attire, Seol curiously asks if it was a gift from her grandfather. Her face instantly lights up with joy upon hearing that her medicine cured his severe insomnia. Suo explains that the patriarch slept soundly because she prepared the remedy with such immense care. When asked to continue making the medicine, Seol enthusiastically pledges to keep preparing it. She eagerly offers to brew more immediately, but the smiling seneschal assures her there is no rush. He reveals that he brought along a special gift to assist her with her medicine-making tasks. A custom-made wooden mortar and pestle is presented as her personal tool for future remedies. While Seol happily inspects her new tool, Suo turns to address Meiran with instructions. He instructs Meiran to ensure that the young lady does not overwork herself, which she accepts. Meiran questions if the patriarch truly liked the remedy, knowing he hated the herb's bitter scent. She recalls the Grand Patriarch previously fleeing in absolute disgust from any medicine containing the herb. Suo chuckles over the contradiction, noting how the Patriarch previously claimed the herb was useless. He points out that the maker's identity was what mattered, as Eunglung is completely smitten with her. Suo's tone grows serious as he warns that rumors of the Patriarch coddling her have reached jealous ears. Chief Seneschal warns that the powerful clan elders will undoubtedly try to keep her in check. He strictly orders Meiran to report any threats to the young lady's safety immediately. Turning back to Seol, Suo announces that he has one final gift to deliver. He explains the gift as a token of gratitude from the patriarch, and Meiran offers to open it. Seol watches with wide eyes as the beautiful red wooden box is slowly opened. She gasps in amazement at the sight of a stunning glowing jade bracelet sitting inside. She sadly recalls never having anything of her own, always feeling jealous of Garyong's beautiful jewelry. Mei Ran admires the lovely jade bracelet, explaining that such pieces are highly popular in the province. Having successfully delivered his message, the polite chief seneschal bows and takes his leave. As Suo walks away, Mei Ran warmly offers to slide the beautiful bracelet onto her wrist. Looking back with a fond smile, Suo marvels at her charm and understands why people desire daughters. Walking away, the chief manager silently ponders the incredible secret behind the bracelet gifted to Seol. It is no ordinary jade, but a precious Namgung Clan heirloom featuring a powerful green vitality stone. This legendary vitality stone possesses mystical energy capable of instantly washing away all physical fatigue. It is said to completely rejuvenate a tired body overnight, even after grueling martial arts training. The patriarch admits to his manager that he lied about the rare relic's true identity. The manager inwardly questions why the patriarch would bestow a martial arts treasure upon a child. Seeing her happily hold her new tools, the manager looks at her with growing suspicion. Purple-robed chief manager walks down the corridor, deeply lost in his own thoughts. He wonders if the Grand Patriarch truly intends to train the young girl in martial arts. Clasping a red and gold book, the young girl beams with innocent joy amidst blooming flowers. Sudden, sharp knocking echoes as Chief Manager Namgung Suo formally requests an audience with the Patriarch. The manager warns that the clan elders have arrived, catching the Patriarch completely off guard. Enjoying their quiet breakfast together, the Patriarch is displeased by the sudden intrusion. Although Seol urges him to go, the patriarch insists breakfast with her is his greatest joy. He happily observes that regular meals and proper sleep have finally restored her healthy appearance. He marvels at her recovery, noting that no one would recognize her former sickly state. The patriarch is pleased by her warmth until she suddenly calls him her benefactor again. He reacts with dramatic dismay, causing the panicking girl to quickly correct herself to grandfather. Placidly nodding, the patriarch hopes she will gradually open her heart to other clan members. He acknowledges that his rowdy grandsons are currently too energetic and overwhelming for the shy girl. He reassuringly concludes that time will eventually help her adjust to the boys. Ungong kindly offers her a piece of rare herbal food, urging her to eat well. Refusing to be babied, she insists on feeding herself, leaving him utterly devastated. She explains that she is too grown up to be fed in front of others. Eating his breakfast, the disappointed grandfather laments that his favorite daily joy has vanished. He tries to console himself, realizing he should be happy about her developing independence. He bids her goodbye to attend to his business, and she cheerfully waves him off. Meeting his waiting manager outside, the stern patriarch commands that they go confront the elders. A fierce, cold aura surrounds the patriarch as he prepares to hear the elders' complaints. Walking behind his master, the sweat-dropping manager silently wonders what caused such a terrible mood. The Grand Patriarch sits on his dark throne, radiating an incredibly intense and terrifying aura. The gathered elders whisper in fear, wondering if they chose a terrible day to arrive. A sudden, sharp thud of his cane silences the room as his glaring eyes narrow. The gray-haired elder, Namgung Muyang, steps forward while leaning heavily on his wooden cane. Muyang questions the clan head's absence, but the patriarch merely speaks his name in response. The patriarch inwardly notes that as the faction leader, Muyang always runs his mouth first. Recalling their bitter past clashes over succession, Yungang raises his teacup with cold irritation. Noting the patriarch's silent glare, Muyang boldly decides to get straight to the point. Muyang directly confronts the patriarch about bringing a mysterious young girl into the clan's estate. Ungang dismisses it as charity, but Muyang insists her luxurious lodgings warrant their deep concern. When Muyang expresses fear of adoption, Ungang silently chuckles at their highly predictable panic. The patriarch mocks the elders for thinking he has gone senile enough to adopt an outsider. He knows they only fear how a new child might disrupt the clan's power struggle. The patriarch loudly declares he has no plans to adopt her, calming their initial pact. He shocks the room by announcing he will make her his personal disciple, provoking immediate outrage. The elders argue that no leader has ever accepted a non-blood relative as a direct disciple. They emphasize the patriarch's status as a legendary peerless warrior unmatched in their long history. They furiously complain that he rejected their own talented children, yet chose an unknown outsider. As Muyang protests training an outsider, Ungang repeats the words with a dangerous, quiet anger. The patriarch coldly demands to know which of them is truly a pure-blooded clan member. The patriarch fiercely asserts that he is the only true member of the Namgung Clan present. A clan member suddenly interrupts the tense gathering to offer his polite apologies to Ungang. Suo presents a letter from the family head to be read before the gathered elders. Although irritated, the patriarch accepts the letter, trusting his highly intelligent son's judgment. The patriarch opens his son's folded letter to read the written message aloud. The letter acknowledges the patriarch's authority while respecting the clan elders' concerns. The letter proposes a martial arts duel to verify Seol's qualifications as a disciple. The patriarch sighs, amazed that his son knows everything despite being away from home. He realizes his son proposed the duel to satisfy both the patriarch and the elders. The patriarch realizes his son is absolutely certain that young Seol will lose the duel. Gripping the paper, the patriarch notes his son expected him to back down after the duel. Smiling confidently, the patriarch silently declares that his son has underestimated him this time. The patriarch inquires about Myogajang's grandson, Jong-woo, who has made great progress. The patriarch notes that the 8-year-old boy is the perfect age for his plan. The patriarch proposes a duel between the two children, as suggested by the family head. An imaginary scene shows the young boy and Seol facing off with wooden practice swords. The patriarch declares that Seol will officially become his disciple if she wins the match. The patriarch sets the high-stakes condition if the elder's grandson, Jong-woo, wins. Back at breakfast, the patriarch warmly asks Seol for her thoughts on the food. Seol happily chews her food, pleasantly surprised by the delicious taste. The patriarch explains that rare medicine restored her meridians, preparing her body for martial arts. Clenching his fist, the patriarch clarifies that they will not start with internal energy. He proposes starting with external martial arts to temper her young body and refine techniques. Seol questions the lack of internal energy, but Yulong emphasizes that physical training is crucial. The patriarch explains that peak physical training can forge an indestructible diamond-like body. Thrilled, Seol asks if she can really achieve such power, and he promises it. Seol's eyes sparkle with wonder as she dreams of her future training. In her cute imagination, Seol easily defeats 2 fierce wolves with a single punch. The patriarch smiles warmly, highly pleased by her sudden enthusiasm for martial arts training. The patriarch reflects on the agreement to settle her discipleship with a fair duel. The duel will decide if she is worthy to be his official personal disciple. The smug elder readily agrees to the duel, confident his grandson will easily win. The patriarch proposes scheduling the duel 2 months later to allow Seol preparation time. The elders demand that the patriarch refrain from training Seol personally before the duel. He agrees to delegate her training, secretly deciding not to tell her about the duel. The patriarch decides to spare young Seol from the heavy burden of knowing the stakes. Seol is deeply shocked to learn that her grandfather will not be her instructor. He reassures her that he has assigned a highly capable and trustworthy alternative instructor. He introduces Namgung Clan, captain of the Blue Sky unit, as her new master. In a sudden shift, the sounds of intense physical training echo from the courtyard. Seol gasps for breath as her new instructor teasingly asks if she is tired. Struggling to run, Seol insists she can keep going despite his harsh, intimidating warning. A wild roar sounds as the terrifying beastkin shadows threaten to swallow her whole. Seol suddenly bolts upright in bed, gasping for air after a terrifying nightmare. Realizing it was just a dream, Seol is warmly greeted by Mayran entering. Seol clutches her pounding chest, admitting her deep nervousness about meeting the new instructor. Though her grandfather promised the instructor was good, Seol fears meeting a dog beastkin. Overwhelmed by nerves, Seol decides to head to the training grounds ahead of schedule. Arriving early, Seol timidly peeks through the wooden door to see if anyone is there. Her eyes instantly widen in absolute shock as she spots something unexpected inside. Peeking over the railing, Seol observes a silver-haired boy practicing sword forms, realizing he is around her age. Mesmerized, Seol quietly admires the incredible elegance and beauty of the boy's fluid sword forms. Moving with natural grace, the young boy executes a series of swift and precise sword slashes. Watching intently, Seol notes that his technique is nearly perfect, requiring only a tiny bit more refinement. She admires the clean energy of his blade, sensing he is on the verge of greatness. Suddenly, the young boy halts midair, a confused exclamation escaping him as he stops his descent. Seol wonders why the boy abruptly stopped his practice just as he was nearly finished. Turning sharply, the boy demands to know her identity as he points his practice sword at her. He sternly scolds her for spying, prompting the startled girl to quickly offer her sincere apologies. Deeply flustered, Seol bows as she admits she was captivated by his impressive swordsmanship. The silver-haired boy quietly steps closer, observing the bowing girl with a calm, analytical expression. An awkward, tense silence stretches between the two children as they quietly look at one another. Backing away up the stairs, Seol mentally questions his confusing remark about direct descendants. Seol ponders his age, realizing he must belong to the main direct family line. She suddenly wonders if this boy is actually her grandfather's eldest grandson. A formal introduction confirms the boy's identity as Namgung Baek, the family head's eldest grandson. Baek arrogantly refers to her as a little brat, which leaves Seol utterly offended and shocked. Before she can fully speak, Baek smugly interrupts, claiming he already knows exactly who she is. When Seol politely addresses him as senior brother, Bae reacts with immediate amusement and skepticism. Bae coolly explains that only disciples training under the same master should address each other as siblings. Seol nervously explains that since she begins her training today, she assumed it was correct. Bae curtly tells her to forget it, explaining the strict rules of formal master-disciple relations. He sighs in mild frustration, wondering why he is explaining complex traditions to an ignorant child. Seol tries to stop him, eagerly wanting to finish her apology for spying earlier. A deep voice interrupts her as a large man arrives, catching Seol completely off guard. The newcomer formally introduces himself as Namgung Clan, captain of the Blue Sky Unit. An official title card introduces Namgung Clan, the Scarface captain and direct instructor to the children. The captain asks who she was speaking to, and Seol begins explaining about her senior brother. Looking at the empty courtyard, the captain is deeply puzzled by her mention of another person. Seol is left utterly bewildered as to why Baek vanished so suddenly without saying a word. The captain gently assures her that they will take training very slowly for her first day. Enthusiastically pumping her fist, Seol confidently declares that she is ready to begin. High above, Baek watches her from a balcony, his serious gaze tracking her movements. Later that evening, the Grand Patriarch relaxes at the table, enjoying a peaceful meal. Seol happily announces she will eat 3 bowls of rice, which her grandfather warmly encourages. Her grandfather gently reaches his hand out to her as she suddenly begins to fall asleep. He cradles her head as she dozes off, playfully noting she cannot eat while sleeping. The patriarch calls for Mayran, who quickly enters the dining room to assist. He instructs Mayran to take Seol to bed and ensure she wears her special bracelet. He gently strokes her head as she sleeps, wishing he could tuck her in himself. His attention is drawn to the door as an unexpected guest arrives late at night. Captain Namgung Clan bows deeply, formally greeting the Supreme Patriarch. The Patriarch eagerly asks for a status report on Seol's first day of physical training. To his utter shock, the captain solemnly requests to be relieved of his teaching duties. A profile card highlights Captain Clan's legendary status as the 1,000-pound sword sage. The Patriarch is stunned, knowing the captain has always been unwavering in his obedience. When the Patriarch demands a reason, Clan flatly states that Seol possesses no martial talent. The captain explains that her physical strength is too poor to even hold a sword. He warns that training will only bring her pain, but the Patriarch commands him to listen. The Patriarch asks if he bothered to ask Seol why she wants to learn martial arts. The Patriarch clarifies that he has no intention of forcing anything on Seol, urging the captain to ask her directly. He gently proposes that if she possesses a sincere desire to learn, they should accommodate her. To the captain's utter shock, the Patriarch instructs him to teach her the forms of the Great Azure Sky Sword technique. The captain protests that Seol cannot even swing a wooden sword, but the Patriarch insists he trust him. Despite his deep skepticism and worry, Captain Clan reluctantly complies and bows to his superior's command. Walking away, the captain reflects on his loyalty and realizes the Patriarch entrusted her to him knowing this. Still, Captain Clan remains completely bewildered by the Patriarch's seemingly reckless decisions regarding the girl's training. He worries that placing an untrained child in a high-stakes duel is needlessly cruel and spirit-breaking. His deep thoughts are suddenly interrupted as a loud, startled shriek echoes from high above him. Looking up, the captain spots 2 young beastkin children peering curiously over the courtyard balcony. Seol apologizes for screaming, and Clan sternly requests that the young onlookers leave her private training area. The captain orders them to leave, while the cute beastkin children walk away wishing they could make friends. Noting Seol's jumpy nature, the captain concludes she lacks the essential fighting spirit required of a true martial artist. Desiring to spare her from future harm, Captain Clan resolves to make her quit training immediately. The captain announces that her training begins in earnest today, and Seol eagerly confirms her ready state. Warning her of the immense difficulty, the captain begins a series of brutal physical exercises designed to break her spirit. Trembling under the weight of heavy wooden logs, Seol struggles as Clan predicts her swift surrender. Next, she is forced to push massive boulders, reinforcing the captain's certainty that she will quit by morning. Completely exhausted, Seol collapses face down on the courtyard stone while her silent instructor watches. Convinced she will give up by tomorrow, the captain leaves, but the next morning brings an unexpected turn. To the captain's surprise, Seol returns to the training grounds without fail, standing politely in salute. Absolutely stunned by her endurance, the captain realizes his current methods are insufficient to make her quit. Looking at a tall wooden pillar with a rope, he decides to escalate the severity of her training. Clapping his hands, the captain presents Seol with her new physical task for the day. Seol and her instructor stand before a towering wooden pillar with a single long rope hanging down. Cruelly withholding protective gloves, the captain expects the painful rope friction to finally force her to give up. He declares she must pass this climbing test before learning any sword techniques, and she bravely accepts. Grunting with determination, Seol tightly grips the rough rope and begins her painful climb up the tall pillar. Her small hands slip, causing her to lose her footing and fall backwards with a sharp cry. Clutching her raw, painful palms, the young girl groans in agony from the friction of the rope. Shaking off the excruciating pain, Seol pushes herself back up onto her feet with an incredibly fierce expression. Desperately chanting encouragement to herself, Seol continues to climb toward the single feather resting at the very top. Gravity pulls her down once again, sending her crashing back to the hard wooden training floor. The brutal cycle continues as Seol falls over and over, crying out from the constant impact. Trembling behind the pillar, the exhausted girl groans in pain while the captain admits he cannot bear to watch. As the orange sunset glows through the windows, the captain notes that it is already getting late. The captain tries to call an end to the session, but Seol determinedly refuses to stop. Holding the rope tightly with bleeding hands, she flashes a bright, hopeful smile despite her sheer exhaustion. Smiling through her sweat, Seol happily tells her master that he should head back first. Relenting, the captain grants her a little more time, mentally praying she stops before getting her hopes up. In the quiet courtyard, the wind rustles the leaves as Seol stands resolutely beneath the tall climbing pillar. Later that night, the captain assumes Seol has finally returned to her quarters for some rest. Entering the main hall, Yu-Gil formally greets the Supreme Patriarch, who welcomes him back. The captain reports that Seol pushed herself too hard, but the Patriarch looks surprised by his concern. Confused, the captain watches as the Patriarch realizes that Seol has not actually returned yet. Smiling warmly, the Patriarch tells him not to worry, promising that he will personally look after her. As the captain walks away, the Patriarch's words about her heart being what matters most echo in his mind. Back under the starlight, young Seol continues her endless, painful climb up the rope with raw hands. The Patriarch dismisses the captain for the night, waving as Yu-Gil bows and takes his leave. Walking through the palace grounds, the captain remains deeply skeptical that she will show up for training tomorrow. A sharp creaking sound echoes as Captain Namgung pushes open the heavy wooden gate. Noting her usual early arrival, the captain realizes the young girl is not there to greet him. He reflects that she lasted longer than expected when a soft rustling noise catches his attention. Looking up, the startled captain hears her call out and spots her sitting atop the tall pillar. He cries out in utter disbelief upon seeing the young lady sitting perched high on the column. The captain runs toward the towering pillar, completely bewildered by how she managed to climb it. The captain asks if she climbed all night. Seol sheepishly admits she lost track of time. Seol happily explains she stayed up to watch the sunrise, leaving her instructor completely speechless. As she prepares to come down, her foot suddenly slips on the edge of the high pillar. The young girl tumbles backward through the air as the horrified captain screams out for her. Leaping forward, the swift instructor safely catches the falling child in his strong arms just in time. Safe in his grasp, Seol quickly apologizes, explaining that her physical strength simply gave out. Realizing she left the target feather at the top, she asks if she must climb again. When the captain asks what she would do if he said yes, she groans over the difficulty. Looking determined, Seol resolves to try again anyway, which deeply touches the silent captain. Kneeling before her, the captain seriously asks Seol if she truly wishes to learn martial arts. He asks her for her reasoning, but she explains that her grandfather is the one who knows. She states her goal is to achieve diamond imperviousness, leaving her instructor deeply puzzled by her choice. The captain wonders why she chose their clan instead of Shaolin, guessing Shaolin's exclusion of women is the reason. When asked what she will do with that power, she explains she wants to become very strong. The captain sympathizes, knowing her weak constitution makes it impossible for her to harness internal energy. The young girl looks down sheepishly, clasping her hands as she speaks from her heart. She anxiously asks if someone in the world will eventually have a use for her skills. He reassures her, suggesting she could easily find work as an escort or a traveling wanderer. He explains that an escort transports goods safely, while a wanderer is a hired traveling warrior. Delighted to hear about these future opportunities, Seol expresses immense relief at having career paths. She brightly explains that she must prepare for the day she inevitably departs from the clan. The captain inwardly repents, realizing he misjudged her inner strength based solely on her small stature. He recognizes that her determination and maturity are equal to those of any seasoned adult warrior. Standing up tall, the captain addresses her formally, and she eagerly responds to her master. He officially declares that starting tomorrow, he will teach her the great Azure Sky sword art. Wide-eyed and stunned, Seol asks if he is truly going to teach her the clan's legendary sword art. Smiling warmly, the captain promises to protect her and ensure her comfort within the clan until adulthood. He promises to carve a custom wooden sword for her, earning an incredibly grateful response from Seol. Overwhelmed with joy, Seol suddenly leaps forward to hug him, calling him her benefactor in gratitude. Laughing softly, the captain gently tells her that such a high title is uncalled for. He warns her about debts of gratitude as the white-haired Namgung Bak watches them silently from the corridor. Namgung Bae gazes at them with a serious and contemplative expression as they walk away. He silently questions what could possibly drive the fragile young girl to push herself so far. He continues to watch them hand in hand, unable to comprehend her relentless drive to train. Baek reflects that despite hearing her reasons, he cannot understand why she worries about survival. Baek notes she already has lifelong guardians, just as the patriarch calls out Seol's name. The patriarch fondly wishes the young girl would not be in such a rush to grow up. As Baek turns to walk away, his grandfather calls out to ask if he's Libby. The patriarch praises Seol's incredible spirit, then asks why Baek is acting so cold to matchmakers. The grandfather mentions that the matchmaker introduced him to the precious daughter of the Dung manor. When the patriarch notes Du Soso's interest, Baek clenches his fist and curtly interrupts him. The grandfather looks on in silent sadness, sensing the deep pain behind the boy's words. Turning back with a pained expression, Baek bitterly points out that he will not live long enough to wed. He reiterates his tragic fate, fully resigned to his brief remaining lifespan as a groom-to-be. An old narration recalls a warmer time when the white-haired boy showed genuine affection. The white-haired young master inquires about his grandfather's health, and the patriarch dismisses any improvement, instead asking if the boy is resting and eating properly. The grandfather invites the silent young master to share breakfast at the pavilion tomorrow morning. Walking away with soft footsteps, the white-haired youth coldly bids his grandfather farewell. As the wind rustles the leaves, the quiet patriarch watches his grandson walk away. Feeling the deep distance between them, the white-haired elder lets out a heavy sigh. Fast footsteps echo across the stone courtyard as a new training session begins. A wooden training sword strikes the wooden dummy with a sharp echoing crack. The brown-haired instructor calls out to halt her practice session for the day. The master kindly advises the sweating girl to take a break, and she enthusiastically obeys. The young disciple carefully polishes and places her training sword under her master's watchful gaze. The brown-haired captain suggests that she does not need to treat the wooden weapon so delicately. "I'm just a language model and can't help with that." Flushing with embarrassment, the captain coughs and promises to craft her another one if it ever breaks. The young disciple joyfully thanks her master, who avoids her gaze out of sheer bashfulness. While watching her drink water, the captain privately observes that her physical stamina is exceptionally weak for her age. The instructor's thoughts shift as he prepares to evaluate her other training attributes. The master privately praises her superior ability to learn quickly and strike targets with perfect accuracy. Seol anxiously questions if her stance was awkward, but her master assures her it was actually excellent. The young girl is absolutely delighted, eagerly comparing her progress to that of the senior disciple Baek. The captain reacts with a sweat drop at her innocent and overly enthusiastic comparison. He gently clarifies that their clan does not use such terminology, leaving the young girl completely surprised. Seol asks what title she should use instead, and the captain suggests calling the young master her older brother. The young disciple finds the idea of calling someone her older brother incredibly ticklish and sweet. She marvels at the realization that a warrior of such legendary strength could be her older brother. Although she wishes to witness his impressive sword techniques again, she notes they have not crossed paths since. She wonders if the young master is neglecting his training when a sudden commotion startles them both. The captain is shocked to find a group of glowing-eyed men peeking over their private training fence. Terrified, the young girl screams that goblins have invaded, but her master sighingly admits he knows these intruders. The captain angrily commands the men to come down and apologize, prompting them to introduce themselves as the Chungcheon squad. The warriors explain they simply wanted to catch a glimpse of her, leaving the young girl completely bewildered. The eager soldier excitedly informs the young lady that she has already become a massive celebrity among them. He explains that the medical staff constantly gossiped about her cuteness, driving the squad to see for themselves. The squad members reveal that their captain was so taken with her that he spent all night carving her sword. They recount how they gossiped about her identity, joking she might be an incredibly adorable baby fox. Deeply touched, the starry-eyed girl clutches her wooden sword tightly while her silent master stands by awkwardly. Flushing with embarrassment, the captain angrily declares their training was too easy while the men tease his red face. The furious captain commands the terrified squad members to immediately run 500 laps around the grounds. The master tells Seol training is finished for today while the exhausted squad members desperately call out to her. Captain ruthlessly adds another 500 laps for anyone begging the young lady for assistance. Deciding to make a quick run for it, the young girl bids them farewell as they cry out in despair. Safely away from the training grounds, the young girl lets out a long sigh of relief. She reflects on her master's outbursts, realizing for the first time how incredibly frightening he can be. She constructs a mental ranking of the scariest people, placing her grandfather third and her master second. The absolute scariest threat in her life is designated as the two rowdy twin boys running toward her. Her grandfather insisted the boys only wanted to be friends, but she remains deeply skeptical of their intentions. Peering over a bridge, she admits their sudden approach terrifies her because they resemble cruel bullies from her past. A sudden crash echoes in her memory, recalling a cruel childhood prank involving a shattered bowl of medicine. She vividly remembers the malicious twins laughing hysterically after tricking her into drinking disgusting, rotten weed water. Reliving the painful childhood trauma, the young girl shivers in fear beneath the quiet night sky. Reassuring herself, Seol hopes the twins are not like her childhood bullies. Turning around, Seol spots the two young boys shyly peeking at her from behind the pillar. The enthusiastic boys approach Seol, happily asking to play since her training ended early. Trembling with fear as they loom close, Seol suspects the boys are actually bullying her. Seol panics as the eager boys look at her like a tasty piece of meat. Fearing she will become a snack, Seol tries to flee, but the persistent boys beg her to stay. The boys bizarrely suggest playing by digging up roots or chewing on their grandfather's shoes. Bewildered by their strange suggestions, Seol questions why they would ever do such things. Hyuk suggests fetching a stick before realizing she would hate it as a cat beastkin. Seol freezes in sheer shock as the sudden realization of their words dawns on her. Seol frantically points at the boys and demands they halt, confusing them with her sudden outburst. Seol panics internally, desperately wondering how the two boys discovered her secret cat beastkin identity. The boys stare back in complete silence, utterly confused by her sudden panic. Horrified, Seol fears she will be kicked out or brutally attacked now that her secret is exposed. Flinching as Hyuk reaches out, Seol prepares to flee before he offers her a gift. Hyuk presents a cute, handmade toy mouse, explaining they prepared it specifically for her. Completely baffled by the unexpected gesture, Seol blankly asks what they have handed her. The boys enthusiastically explain they made the toy because they heard cats love such playthings. Hyuk proudly boasts about begging the maid for days to sew it while keeping her secret. Seol hesitantly asks if they hate her, but Hyuk wonders why they ever would. The boys reveal they always knew, pointing out her cat ears popping out in their panic. The brothers sweetly declare that her identity never mattered, overjoyed to finally have a big sister. Hyuk points out their special touch of engraving her name on the toy, touching her deeply. Seol worries they will feel ashamed of her because she has not learned her letters yet. Looking down at the toy, Seol gasps in surprise as she notices a specific detail. Ek explains they embroidered a snowflake so everyone would easily recognize the toy as hers. The boys warmly comfort her, prompting Seol to quietly admire the beautiful snowflake embroidery. Clutching the precious gift close, Seol tearfully thanks the two young masters. The young brothers smile warmly, happy to have finally connected with their new sister. Ek insists she call them brothers and speak casually, which Seol shyly agrees to do. Wanting to return the kindness, Seol asks if they would accept a gift from her. Untying her hair ribbon, Seol explains she does not have many personal belongings to offer. She remembers that her silk hair tie is the only possession that truly belongs to her. Seol steps forward to tie the ribbon in Hyuk's hair, surprising him with her actions. Seol proudly presents her handiwork, leaving Hyuk completely stunned by the unexpected hair bow. Hyuk is thrilled with his ribbon, prompting Jeok to eagerly ask for one too. Seol thoughtfully considers how to style Jeok's hair while he waits with breathless excitement. Seol ties Jeok's hair with her ribbon, playfully comparing him to a well-behaved puppy. Reassuring the self-conscious Jeok, Seol explains she loves the style because it reveals his pretty eyes. Letting her hair flow freely, Seol feels immense relief at realizing her fears were completely baseless. Watching the sweet twins play, Seol wonders if the oldest brother, Namgung Clan, is equally kind. Hyuk suddenly spots someone approaching, drawing Seol's attention toward the newcomer. Seol is startled to see the elegant, white-haired young master Namgung Clan standing before them. The young girl is surprised by the sudden and unexpected encounter with the white-haired master. Looking slightly troubled, Namgung Clan coldly explains he was merely searching for a quiet place. The boys defensively explain they are just playing, wondering why their brother is not training. The brothers innocently question whether their older brother is skipping out on his own training. Startled by the informal title, Beak listens as Seol nervously explains her choice of words. Stared down by his cold silence, Seol anxiously offers to revert to her formal address. Noticing their older brother's stiff reaction, the boys question if something is wrong with him. Baek coldly dismisses the value of martial arts, leaving the younger children completely stunned by his attitude. Undeterred, his younger brother eagerly invites him to join their game of catch the mouse as he walks away. Hyuk grumbles about their brother's silent departure while Seol anxiously wonders if they have somehow angered him. Hyuk attributes his brother's prickly attitude to a chronic illness, a revelation that deeply shocks Seol. Hyuk explains that a mysterious, slow-spreading poison afflicted their brother in childhood, leaving him with a tragically short life expectancy. Seol is deeply saddened, but the optimistic boys quickly reassure her that their mother is a legendary clan doctor. While the twins hold on to hope, Seol sorrowfully reflects that Baek's cold expression suggests he has completely given up. Hyuk suddenly suggests another playful theory about their brother's attitude, prompting Seol to ask for an explanation. Baek boasts that second-born children have the finest personalities, prompting his younger brother to ask about the youngest child. Hyuk jokingly declares that the youngest child is destined to be a total crybaby, deeply offending joke. Jaek tearfully pleads his case to Seol while Hyuk triumphantly points out that he is acting like a crybaby. Baek seeks comfort in Seol's warm embrace while she giggles softly at the brother's endearing antics. Jaek playfully sulks about her amusement, prompting Seol to gently apologize while continuing to enjoy their company. Seol feels her natural feline instincts awakening as she playfully chases the boys and their toy mouse. Seol struggles to sleep due to itchy claws, recalling that cat beastkin must groom themselves monthly. Having hidden her true nature for so long, Seol fears her neglected claws will soon cause her pain. Seol decides her only option is to quietly transform, quickly trim her claws, and sneak back to bed. Popping out from beneath her warm blankets, she successfully transforms into an adorable tiny white kitten. The tiny white kitten hops onto the floor, searching for a suitable wooden post to scratch. A sudden sound startles the tiny kitten, causing her to freeze with wide, shocked blue eyes. Peering into the darkness, the startled kitten spots a small mouse with glowing red eyes staring down. Both creatures panic as the tiny kitten and the trembling mouse unexpectedly face off in the dark. The narrative introduces the mouse, Seo Haniel, questioning whether such a unique creature is merely ordinary. Surviving a near-fatal cat attack in his youth left Haniel with a severe, lifelong phobia of felines. Hanel spent his life constantly running from the terrifying predators that lurked around every corner. Seeking safety, Haniel eventually settled within the grand, cat-free estate of the Namgung Clan. Despite the safety from felines, Haniel still had to dodge the maid's frantic sweeping brooms. Haniel paid no mind to the Grand Clan or the maid's sweeping brooms. Haniel built a peaceful life there, looking forward to raising a family in his cat-free paradise. He enjoyed sweet, peaceful moments alongside his loving wife, eagerly awaiting their unborn children. His peaceful life shattered the moment he came face to face with a terrifying blue-eyed kitten. Regretting how easy living had made him lower his guard, Haniel despairs upon realizing she is a beastkin. Believing his end is near, Haniel tearfully apologizes to his pregnant wife and unborn children. He closes his eyes and awaits his fate in silent, trembling anticipation. Instead of sharp claws, Haniel squeaks in bewilderment as a soft object is gently placed on his head. To his shock, the gentle kitten slides a delicious red bean rice cake forward, offering it to him. Haniel trembles as he asks why a predator is feeding him, and Seol simply replies that he looked hungry. Seol happily shares her grandfather's golden rule of always looking out for those who are weaker. Seol gently apologizes for scaring him, while the weeping mouse marvels at receiving such profound kindness from a cat. Overwhelmed with emotion, Haniel loudly declares his eternal gratitude to his adorable savior. Haniel tearfully thanks her for sparing his life, but Seol humbly insists she only followed her upbringing. Haniel solemnly declares that he, his wife, and their future children will serve her as their lord forever. The mouse's grand declaration of loyalty leaves the cute little kitten completely bewildered and speechless. Seo questions his dramatic title, but Haniel firmly insists on dedicating his life to repaying her grace. On a new day, estate servants gossip about the unusual gathering of prestigious guests near the training grounds. Overhearing that the exclusive training grounds are open for a sparring match, Seol prepares herself. Remembering her master's instruction to warm up, Seol stretches while battling intense pre-match nerves. Seol anxiously wonders if her master will return in time after receiving a sudden, urgent message. She gazes in awe at the massive direct-line training grounds, her heart racing with anticipation. An arrogant, street-care young master named Namgung suddenly approaches, coldly addressing Seol with disdain. Seol observes the boy with quiet apprehension, wondering if he somehow recognizes her secret. The brown-haired boy haughtily introduces himself as the grandson of Elder Namgung Muyang. Angry at her lack of reaction, the boy proudly declares his name as Namgung Jangwoo, her sparring opponent. Jangwoo boasts that one day the entire martial world will recognize his name and talent. Seol silently observes that while he is around her age, he must be incredibly skilled. The graphic card introduces the powerful people that currently surround the young girl. Seol reflects on the formidable figures she has met, realizing she feels entirely unintimidated. She compares Jangwoo to her oldest brother, finding his overall presence to be far weaker. As Seol pities his status, Jangwoo becomes increasingly irritated by her seemingly arrogant stare. Jangwoo haughtily questions why someone like her is allowed on the prestigious training grounds. The boy glares at her in hostile silence, harboring deep resentment toward her presence. The sudden swift swing of his leg, Jong-woo deliberately kicks his own boot off. His boot clatters across the stone floor as he mockingly claims it slipped off. Jong-woo points at his discarded boot, arrogantly ordering the startled girl to retrieve it. He demands her obedience, reminding her that she is merely a servant to his clan. Seol realizes this boy is completely different from the kind master she has met. Accepting her position, she quietly kneels on the stone floor to pick up a shoe. Jong-woo smirks triumphantly as Seol submissively reaches out for the discarded boot. Suddenly, a majestic shadow looms over them, startling the smug boy on the stairs. Seol looks up in complete surprise as a towering figure unexpectedly intervenes. The elegant white-haired Namgung Baek appears like a pure lotus blooming in the light. Baek walks forward, coldly commanding Seol to stand up and stop kneeling. Baek roughly grabs Jong-woo's bare foot, coldly repeating his arrogant words back to him. Squeezing hard, Baek mentions knowing another person who was once shown mercy by the clan. Jong-woo flushes with embarrassment and pain under his older brother's icy, commanding gaze. Baek holds his foot firmly, repeating his disapproval of Jong-woo's haughty behavior. A flashback reveals that elder Myogajang originally rose from the poorest slums of the city. The rumors state that as a homeless child, he was adopted by a childless branch. Despite clawing his way up to become an elder, his lineage remains a source of insecurity. Baek points out the hypocrisy of someone who received mercy treating others so cruelly. Baek aggressively shoves the boot back onto Jong-woo's foot to complete his point. He sternly warns Jong-woo never to show disrespect to any guest of their clan. Jong-woo silently cedes, resenting his lower branch lineage for his humiliating treatment. Mortified by the scolding, the boy turns and runs away from the training grounds. Seol watches him leave, feeling uncomfortable for having accidentally learned such a private secret. Seeing Baek prepared to depart, Seol calls out to ask if he is leaving. Seol expresses her deep gratitude, but Baek dismisses it, claiming he acted for the clan. Undeterred by his icy demeanor, Seol softly repeats her sincere thanks to her brother. She hesitantly asks if he came to support her in her upcoming duel. Baek turns away and walks off in silence, leaving her alone once again. Seol wonders why such a prestigious brother has to be so cold and distant. She worries if his prickly attitude is caused by his tragic life-threatening illness. Elder Myogajang approaches the upset Jong-woo, noting the tense exchange he just witnessed. The elder gently asks if the young master said something hurtful to him. He advises him to focus on his upcoming duel and take pride in his name. In a fit of rage, Jong-woo shouts that his grandfather is not a true Namgung. The family members gasp in horror at the boy's incredibly disrespectful outburst. Jong-woo cries out about the constant humiliation he faces due to his grandfather's street origins. Declaring he never wants to see his grandfather again, the boy runs off in tears. The heartbroken elder stops the others from following, quietly taking all the blame upon himself. An announcement echoes across the training grounds, signaling the official start of the highly anticipated duel. Jong-woo stands ready with his wooden sword as the announcer introduces him by his prestigious lineage. Jong-woo dismisses his opponent as unremarkable, while Seol anxiously wonders if he still holds a grudge. Onlookers shout words of encouragement from the balcony, advising the young boy to stay safe. Seol observes the crowd, marveling at the large number of family members cheering for her opponent. Seol quietly reflects on how wonderful it must be to have such supportive family members. Seol contemplates that having true support from loved ones is far more important than official lineage. Seol feels a sudden pang of loneliness about her own family just as her name is announced. Seol freezes in pure shock as a loud voice suddenly cheers her on by name. Seol is delighted to see her master and brothers cheering enthusiastically for her from the balcony. Seol happily spots Marin shouting encouraging words to her from the balcony. Seol is astonished to see the Azure Heaven Squad and the medical staff eagerly cheering her on. Feeling overwhelmed by the massive support, Seol wonders if such a grand display is truly necessary. Seol gasps in surprise as a gentle, familiar voice encourages her to do her best. The smiling Grand Patriarch steps forward on the balcony, demanding others make room for him. The Grand Patriarch winks and signals to Seol, leaving her thoroughly confused by his actions. Seol tries to decipher her grandfather's silent advice about finding an opening in her opponent. Seol recalls her grandfather's specific instructions to join her palms and push if she sees an opening. The referee sternly commands the crowd to quiet down as the match is about to begin. The arena falls silent as the referee prepares to declare the start of the match. With a decisive step forward, the referee loudly orders the duel to commence. Their wooden swords collide with a sharp strike as the two opponents begin their clash. Seol struggles to hold her ground, grunting under the heavy pressure of his sword. A sudden sweeping strike forces Seol to quickly dodge her opponent's aggressive assault. The brothers watch anxiously, noting that Seol is barely dodging while her opponent displays impressive skill. Juke frantically asks if she will be all right, but Master calmly instructs him to keep watching. Seol continues to fluidly leap and evade every incoming attack, baffling the onlookers. Jungwoo grows increasingly frustrated, wondering how Seol is effortlessly dodging every single one of his strikes. Jo compares her movements to a flying squirrel, while Hook suddenly realizes what martial art she learned. Master explains that he taught her the exact same sword art her opponent is currently using. Master reveals that since Seol fully understands the sword paths, dodging his attacks is effortless. The brothers express shock, wondering how she will win if she only continues to dodge. The Grand Patriarch hushes the brothers, confidently claiming he has already devised a plan. As Grand Patriarch mentions his advice, a sharp clash sends a wooden sword spinning away. The crowd gasps in panic as they realize Seol has lost her weapon and is in trouble. Jungwoo towers over the defenseless Seol, declaring that her luck has finally run out. Jungwoo confidently declares his victory as he prepares to land the final blow. Seol suddenly remembers her grandfather's advice on how to act when her opponent shows an opening. The memory of her grandfather's instruction to join her palms and push echoes in her mind. Facing the incoming strike, Seol desperately claps her palms together and calls out to her grandfather. Seol thrusts her joined palms forward directly into her opponent's open guard. Jungwoo gasps in utter bewilderment as she moves beneath his strike. A tremendous burst of bright energy erupts from Seol's palms, blasting her opponent backward. The spectators on the balcony stare down at the arena in absolute speech-defying shock. Master, shocked by the technique, asks if it was the heavenly thunder palm while Seol looks at her hands. Master wonders how she used an unlearned technique, but Grand Patriarch notes she figured it out herself. Master protests about the restriction on internal energy, but Grand Patriarch reveals she can only use it once. Grand Patriarch stops the discussion, noting that there are too many eavesdroppers around. Master reluctantly agrees to drop the subject for now as they stand on the balcony. Onlookers murmur in disbelief at the shocking conclusion of the duel while Seol looks on. Jungwoo groans in defeat on the training ground floor as a wooden sword points toward him. Seol holds her sword high as the referee steps forward to declare the match officially over. The referee stands on the balcony, frozen in complete shock at the unexpected outcome. The Grand Patriarch demands the stunned referee announce the results, snapping him back to reality. Seol stands victorious in the arena, holding her wooden sword as she processes her win. Seol is bewildered when the referee announces her prize is a discipleship with the Grand Patriarch. The spectators whisper in confusion and awe about the Grand Patriarch finally taking a new disciple. Seol is completely overwhelmed, frantically questioning if the match she just fought was truly that important. Seol recalls expressing her simple wish to learn martial arts directly from her grandfather. She imagined her grandfather immediately accepting her request, visualizing herself easily mastering his techniques. She believed his decision to place her under Master was only a temporary arrangement. Fond memory shows Master carrying young Seol, caring for her during her early training. Terrified, Seol panics over how disastrous it would have been had she lost the duel. As the Grand Patriarch calls her name, Seol complains about his complete lack of warning. The Grand Patriarch lifts Seol in his arms, joyfully praising her splendid victory. He warmly expresses how proud he is of her, leaving her utterly stunned by his affection. Seol wonders why her grandfather kept the grand reward a secret until the very end. The surrounding children and onlookers enthusiastically cheer, praising her magnificent performance in the arena. The Grand Patriarch proudly claims her talent, while Master dryly notes they lack biological ties. Seol eagerly calls out to her grandfather to ask a question about the final move. Seol asks about the final move, which her grandfather identifies as the Heavenly Thunder Palm. Seol notes his guidance helped her, prompting him to explain her unique body constitution via telepathy. He telepathically explains how Sky Lightning mirrors the war of yin and yang inside her. He explains that pressing her palms together intensifies her internal energy, allowing her to strike opponents. He praises her for instinctively realizing the essence of the strike without any prior training. He delivers a stern telepathic warning, strictly forbidding her from using the technique ever again. He warns her that using the energy again will rupture her temporarily reinforced blood points. Seol feels slightly disappointed, having mistakenly believed she possessed some extraordinary innate martial talent. He reassures her that the day will eventually come when she can use internal energy freely. He promises to find a cure for her condition, advising her to focus on physical training. Seol cheerfully accepts his advice, promising her grandfather to focus on training her physical arts. The Grand Patriarch grins, happily contemplating what reward he should grant his victorious granddaughter. Nearby, a voice suddenly calls out to the defeated Jungwoo as he prepares to leave. Elder Myogajang runs after the boy, urgently pleading with him to get his injuries treated. Seol silently watches the distressed boy run away, feeling a mixture of worry and concern. The Grand Patriarch genially offers to grant any reward or wish she desires for her victory. Seol clasps her hands and prepares to state the specific reward she wants from him. Master and Grand Patriarch look completely flabbergasted by her unexpected and shocking request. The scene shifts indoors to a quiet, elegant room as an echoing gasp of disbelief sounds. The Grand Patriarch and Master stand together in the corridor, looking remarkably tense and serious. Master wonders why Seol refuses to let anyone enter, questioning what is on her mind. The Grand Patriarch asks Master if his wife was a member of the Seol clan. Master explains they were childhood friends whose romance bloomed while reviewing a post-duel sparring match. Master looks shocked as he suddenly catches on to the Grand Patriarch's subtle implication. The Grand Patriarch admits his deep worries about leaving a young boy and girl alone. Indoors, Seol sits awkwardly across from the boy, hoping she does not have to speak first. Grand Patriarch's thoughts reveal his protective anxiety, already worrying about his granddaughter's future wedding. A heavy, awkward silence fills the room as Seol and the boy sit staring away. The tense silence continues to stretch between the two young children sitting at the table. Nearby, a brown-haired girl and her brother discuss the young boy's remarkable, mysterious nature. Peeking over a balcony, Hoke notes it is obvious why Seol wanted a private audience, though when Jaeok asks why, Hoke cheerfully admits he does not know either. A chibi thought bubble shows Seol kicking Jongwoo as Jaeok, shocked, wonders why she needs a private audience after already winning the duel. Hyuk lectures Jaeok about finishing a job properly to avoid future trouble, but a sudden cough interrupts his advice. Looming in the shadows, the Grand Patriarch sternly demands to know what they are talking about, startling both children. Crouching guiltily behind the railing, Hyuk claims it is nothing, while the Grand Patriarch notes that their free time is perfect timing. Sitting on the floor, the Grand Patriarch mischievously suggests they sneak into Seol's room to join her conversation. Jaek flatly states he has no interest in sneaking in, leaving the Grand Patriarch thoroughly surprised by his lack of curiosity. Jaek smiles innocently as he asks a question about beating someone to a pulp. The Grand Patriarch furiously demands to know who taught Jaeok such language as Hyuk quickly covers his younger brother's mouth to silence him. Sweating nervously, Haeuk laughs and claims he did not mean to teach Jaeok that while the Grand Patriarch yells at him in the background. Hyuk flees the room at top speed with a quick apology while the Grand Patriarch angrily commands the brat to wait. The Grand Patriarch grumbles to himself about losing his perfect excuse to interrupt Seol, while Master stands quietly in the background. Master offers to bring young Master Namgung back over, but the Grand Patriarch dismisses the idea because the boy left before the duel started. Sighing deeply, the Grand Patriarch mutters that Seol should have just beaten up the Namgung Clan lord, leaving Master slightly startled. A cup clatters loudly against the wooden table as a pained groan echoes through the room. Jongwoo screams in pain on the floor as Seol crouches on the table, glaring down at him with an intense, terrifying aura. Sitting back up, Jongwoo angrily demands to know why she wanted to meet with him alone in private. Jongwoo impatiently tells her to hurry up because he is busy, but Seol simply stares back at him in silence. A tiny white mouse pops out to congratulate Seol on her victory, surprising her with his unexpected presence. As they walk down the corridor, the mouse asks if she is going to see the insolent young master, and Seol quietly confirms her plans. Seol explains she wants to speak to Jongwoo, while the mouse warns her about his nasty attitude and how he yelled at his grandfather, Elder Myogajang. Elder Myogajang stands alone in the dim courtyard, his back turned in a moment of quiet, lonely reflection. Seol reflects on how Jongwoo probably does not like her very much since he so readily agreed to their duel. Seol runs toward the courtyard just as Myogajang frantically calls out to his grandson who is trying to walk away. Myogajang desperately tries to stop Jongwoo to treat his injuries, demonstrating his genuine care and concern for his grandson. Recalling the deep sadness on Myogajang's face, Seol decides she cannot simply ignore the tension between the boy and his grandfather. Seol bitterly reflects on how precious real family is, lamenting that Jongwoo does not even realize what he has. Remembering Hyuk's advice that the only cure for an idiot is a good beating, Seol looks down in quiet contemplation. Seol admits to herself that she has never said anything mean before, but her gaze suddenly sharpens with determination. With newfound resolve, Seol decides to follow her older brother Huk's direct teachings. Jongwoo stands to leave since she is refusing to speak, but Seol suddenly calls out to stop him. Looming with a terrifying black cat shadow behind her, Seol coldly orders the startled boy to sit down. Jongwoo gasps in shock as Seol sternly reminds him that he lost the duel and should not get cocky. Stealing her resolve, Seol prepares to lecture him, repeating Hyuk's aggressive advice in her mind. Jongwoo flinches back in complete confusion, stammering in response to her sudden change in attitude. Seol demands that he apologize to his grandfather for hurting his feelings, but Jongwoo stubbornly refuses to see why he should. Clenching his fist in anger, Jong-woo demands to know what she could possibly understand about his relationship with his grandfather. Seol fiercely shouts that she did not say anything wrong, leaving Jong-woo utterly bewildered by her intense outburst. Seol's hands clench in frustration as she wonders why he cannot simply understand how upset his grandfather is. Seol wonders if he is only throwing such a tantrum because they are real family, taking their bond for granted. Seol coldly declares that words are clearly not enough for him, prompting a confused reaction from the sweating boy. Seol stands up, lecturing him on how he fails to cherish his family while they are still by his side. Jong-woo falls back in absolute terror as Seol suddenly claps her palms together, preparing her signature strike. Jong-woo frantically demands to know who she is and where she learned such an incredibly powerful technique. Seol yells back that none of that matters and that his own rotten attitude is the real problem. Seol points a stern finger at the flinching boy, declaring that since he fails to understand the value of family, she will take action. With absolute gravity, Seol threatens to strip him of the Namgung family name, leaving Jong-woo completely shocked. Chibi Seol explains that her grandfather promised to grant her one wish as a reward for her victory in the duel. Sweating in sheer panic, Jong-woo desperately pleads that she cannot make such a devastating wish. Seol secretly admits to herself that she is lying to force him to change his mind, having already used her wish. Seol gently points out to Jong-woo how deeply his grandfather, Elder Myogajang, cares for him. Seol lectures him on how foolish it is to ignore a genuine family bond over status. Seol threatens to strip away his family name, successfully forcing the panicked boy to agree to apologize. Jong-woo yells in exasperation, complaining about her constant threats while promising to apologize to his grandfather. From the corridor, a sudden shouting matches her refusal, indicating escalating tension within the private room. Outside, Elder Myogajang frantically worries about his grandson's safety, though the Grand Patriarch firmly defends Seol. Desperate and anxious, Elder Myogajang insists on retrieving his beloved grandson from the room immediately. Looking past the sliding door, the crying boy suddenly runs out toward his incredibly worried grandfather. The elderly man stops in astonishment as his grandson unexpectedly bursts through the door toward him. Overwhelmed with emotion, the crying boy throws his arms around his grandfather in a tight embrace. Myogajang embraces him warmly, frantically asking if the girl did something to make him cry. The boy tearfully apologizes for his weak, pathetic behavior and for taking his frustrations out on him. Seol quietly observes the touching reunion, amused by how quickly the boy can apologize after throwing tantrums. Watching them embrace, Seol feels a bittersweet pang of jealousy despite being the victor of the duel. The group stands together in the corridor, relieved that the emotional confrontation has ended on a good note. Sometime later, Seol sits in a different room, looking completely baffled by her current situation. Seol wonders why she is suddenly having a private audience with the elder grandfather this time. Her inner confusion grows as she tries to comprehend why the elder wanted to meet her. A heavy silence fills the elegant room as the two sit across from each other at a table. Seol awkwardly sits in her green dress, reflecting on how completely unpredictable her life has become. Elder Myogajang admits his disbelief that his grandson lost to her, making her sweat with nervous tension. Seol sinks slightly in her chair, anxiously wondering if the elder is planning to scold her. Myogajang suddenly barks at her not to hang her head, startling her into a quick response. He lectures her that the victor who defeated his grandson should never bow so easily to others. He gently reassures her that he did not come to place any blame, confusing her even further. Seol looks up with wide, curious eyes, waiting to hear his true reason for the meeting. To her surprise, the elder brings his hands together in a respectful gesture of sincere apology. He begins by asking if she knew about his adopted origins outside of the main Namgung Clan. He explains how his adopted background made him fiercely overprotective of his grandson's standing in the family. He shares his belief that a weak foundation requires a strong exterior to keep others from looking down on them. Looking down with deep regret, he sighs that his overprotectiveness ultimately became poison for his grandson. He mentions learning of his grandson's rude behavior, while Seol sheepishly recalls the shoe-throwing incident. He happily concludes that his grandson has finally come to his senses and they have fully reconciled. As a token of his gratitude, the elder offers to give her a special reward, exciting her. He presents her with a precious jade box containing a special garment as her first choice of gifts. Seol opens the container with a look of high expectation, only to gasp in surprise. Inside the beautiful jade container lies a surprisingly plain, worn-out blue robe, catching her off guard. Seol tries to hide her disappointment, politely telling herself to appreciate the gesture despite its old appearance. She compliments the old garment, prompting a hearty laugh from the amused elder as he watches her. He explains that the second option is something she secretly wants, instantly piquing her intense interest. Seol gasps in shock, completely stunned that he might know her innermost secret desire. She wonders how he could possibly know her unspoken wish, while he smiles knowingly. He offers to reveal the path for her to officially join the prestigious Namgung Clan. With absolute gravity, he bluntly declares that the method is marriage, leaving her completely stunned. He explains that marrying into the family is the easiest way to earn the Namgung surname she desires. Seol recoils in absolute horror, frantically refusing his proposal because she does not want to marry an old grandfather. Chibi thoughts show Seol expressing her preference for pretty faces, while Myogajang and the Grand Patriarch react in comedic outrage. Flustered and sweating, the elder yells that he already has a beloved wife waiting for him at home. Seol finally understands his true implication, envisioning the young boy in her mind as she gasps. He encourages her to consider marrying Jang-woo to secure both the family name and a real loving family. Seol recalls the warm tears of Jang-woo's parents, reflecting on how deeply they cherish their son. Elder Myogajang sincerely promises to become her doting grandfather and protect her with all his soul. The elder presents Seol with a final choice between the old clothes and a real family. Clenching the precious box, Seol hesitatingly prepares to deliver her final decision. The elder waits with bated breath as the young girl tries to speak her mind. Seol boldly declares her choice of the old clothes, leaving the elder in absolute shock. Myogajang frantically questions why she would choose old clothes over family, prompting Seol to explain. The atmosphere softens as the elder listens in silence to the young girl's explanation. Seol explains her desire to stay and learn martial arts properly from the Grand Patriarch. Clenching her fists, Seol quietly vows to achieve her dream one day. Seol dreams of soaring high once cured, prompting a soft sigh from the understanding elder. Myogajang concedes that the Grand Patriarch's teachings are far more valuable than any material wealth. Myogajang laments missing out on her rare talent, catching the young girl completely off guard. As the elder reiterates his proposal, a booming voice suddenly accuses him of being a thief. The Grand Patriarch dramatically bursts in to protect Seol, leaving the others utterly exasperated. The Grand Patriarch fiercely scolds Myogajang for using a gift-giving meeting to press a marriage proposal. Sparks fly as the Grand Patriarch yells over the noise while Seol desperately pleads for peace. Myogajang hands over the jade box as promised while Seol happily defends her newly acquired gift. Seol gasps as a telepathic message instructs her to secretly read a letter hidden inside. Myogajang departs amidst the shouting, leaving Seol to contemplate the chaotic behavior of her elders. Seol quietly reflects on her sincere desire to learn martial arts from her doting grandfather. The Grand Patriarch checks on her safety while Seol realizes she already has a true family. Seol warmly defends Myogajang as a kind person, despite her own quiet, complicated feelings. The chief steward enters to deliver an urgent message right as Elder Myogajang departs. The chief steward hesitates, choosing his words carefully before delivering the sudden news. The chief steward announces the clan leader's return, sparking instant curiosity from the Grand Patriarch. The Grand Patriarch smiles in relief, welcoming the clan leader's return as wonderful news. The speed of this response is 1.5x. The mood immediately shifts as the chief steward reveals that Namgung Yol has also arrived. A sudden heavy tension fills the room, instantly noted by the highly perceptive young girl. Seol looks around in deep confusion, wondering what could cause such a dark atmosphere. Seol wonders about the identity of Namgung Yol as a mysterious figure is shown. Seol lies awake in bed, tossing and turning with endless thoughts running through her mind. She remembers the heavy silence that followed the mention of Namgung Yol's sudden arrival. Ordered to stay in her room, Seol deeply worries about her grandfather's dark mood. Seol sits up, realizing the information brought by her little animal ally is highly troubling. The information she received was the exact crucial intelligence she had requested before the duel. The little white mouse asks if she has any further questions, prompting a thoughtful pause. The small white cat hesitates slightly before preparing to ask her next important question. Seol remembers urgently demanding to know the true owner of the precious silk clothes. Seol recalls asking Marin about the clothes, which had left the maid deeply flustered. Since Marin could not disclose private clan matters, Seol had turned to her mouse ally. The white mouse proudly returns, announcing that he has successfully discovered the owner's identity. The mouse reveals the clothes belong to a mysterious fourth child, baffling the young girl. A heavy silence falls as the mouse hesitates to reveal the rest of the truth. The tragic news that the clothes belong to a miscarried baby leaves Seol deeply saddened. Seol tearfully realizes how deeply the family must have cherished and anticipated their unborn baby. Seol worries her clothes might offend the family head right as Marin gently interrupts her. Marin notices her lack of sleep and asks if something is bothering her tonight. Seol confesses her worry over her grandfather's uncharacteristic and deeply upset mood from earlier. Marin explains the distress stems from the fierce historical friction surrounding the clan's leadership succession. Marian explains that the brother left the main house due to deep resentment over succession rules. Marin admits the current family head's martial strength is rumored to be the lowest in clan history. Marin reassures Seol that the Grand Patriarch must have had an excellent reason for choosing him. Marin encourages the young girl not to let the clan rumors affect her, and Seol quietly agrees. Seol silently reflects that rumors are not the true reason for her insomnia tonight. Seol resolves to avoid causing any trouble for the family head since her grandfather chose him. Seol confirms their scheduled meeting with the family head tomorrow, which Marin readily validates. Seol expresses her desire to wear a specific outfit tomorrow, catching her maid completely off guard. Morning light breaks over the tranquil clan courtyard, bringing the dawn of their meeting day. The Grand Patriarch warmly welcomes his returning son, An, who respectfully acknowledges their long time apart. An explains that the Yangtze River pirates have become unusually bold, targeting their vessels without fear. An notes that the pirates specifically targeting the Namgung Clan is highly unusual. An reports that the Beggars Guild has detected peak martial masters leading the highly disciplined pirates. An recounts defeating the highly disciplined pirates who operated as if following strict organized military orders. An regrets being unable to interrogate them due to suicide pills, right as his brother boisterously interrupts. Namgung Yel makes a dramatic, arrogant entrance claiming he would have easily prevented the pirates' suicides. When An questions him, Yol sadistically suggests he would have shattered their jaws to prevent poison. Yul smugly declares that the main house would never suffer humiliation if he were in charge. An clenches his sword hilt in silent fury, while Yul dismissively tells him not to rush. Yul mockingly suggests settling their upcoming match immediately, provoking their father into a booming, furious shout. The Grand Patriarch commands Yel to leave at once, prompting the smug brother to finally depart. A heavy, tired sigh escapes the Grand Patriarch as the tense family confrontation finally settles down. The Grand Patriarch advises An not to take his immature brother's provoking words to heart. An gravely reveals that someone breached his quarters and emptied the chest containing his deceased child's clothes. An directly asks his father if he was the one who gave those precious clothes to Seol. The Grand Patriarch admits his decision, gently advising his grieving son that it is time to let go. The Grand Patriarch urges An to stop dwelling on the lost child after 3 long years. The Grand Patriarch reminds him to focus on the living family, but An snaps back in frustration. An tearfully accuses his father of hypocrisy, shouting that he hasn't let go of their mother either. An suddenly freezes in shock, his eye widening as he senses an unexpected presence nearby. The two men turn toward the door as An detects someone lingering quietly right outside. The Grand Patriarch kindly invites Seol inside, prompting the nervous girl to slide the door open. Both men turn in absolute surprise as Seol enters wearing a completely unexpected outfit. The Grand Patriarch stops Seol in surprise, bewilderedly asking what on earth she is wearing. He asks again in deep confusion as the young girl stands sheepishly in the oversized robes. Seol performs a polite greeting, loudly declaring her name to the startled family head. Seol dramatically praises An's noble visage, bowing low to show her deepest respect to him. An stares at her in shock, wondering where the young child learns such formal martial etiquette. An directly questions why she chose to come dressed in those specific plain, worn-out clothes. Seol explains that she wanted to wear her best clothes to greet a respected clan elder. An listens in silent surprise as the young girl prepares. I'm just a language model and can't help with that. Seol quietly reveals she discovered yesterday that the clothes originally belonged to a lost baby. Looking down sadly, Seol confesses she would never have worn them so carelessly had she known. Seol bows her head and offers a sincere, deep apology for her unintentional disrespect to them. The Grand Patriarch gently stops her, assuring Seol she has absolutely no reason to apologize. An's heart softens as he realizes the young girl is truly just an innocent, caring child. An kneels and places a gentle hand on her shoulder, realizing he cannot blame this child. An recalls reading the Grand Patriarch's letter detailing Seol's incredibly pitiful and tragic past circumstances. An deeply regrets his momentary resentment, thanking Seol for helping him see how foolish he was. Seol anxiously looks up, timidly asking if she can still stay at the Changchun Pavilion. An realizes that Seol's polite greeting stems from her deep fear of being banished from the clan. Feeling deeply remorseful for causing her anxiety, the family head resolves to reassure the frightened girl. An warmly reassures Seol that as a guest of the Grand Patriarch, she will never be cast out. An's casual comment about not being an enemy of the clan leaves Seol comically frozen in panic. Noticing her trembling, the Grand Patriarch quickly dismisses Seol so she can return to her room. An is left deeply confused by his father's sudden haste in ushering the young girl away. As the doors close, the family head silently questions whether his behavior was too harsh for her. When asked for his impression, An admits to his father that Seol seems like an incredibly pitiful child. The Grand Patriarch playfully teases his son for criticizing his parenting while neglecting to discard the child's old rags. The Grand Patriarch reveals that the simple blue garment Seol wore actually came from Elder Myogajang. This unexpected revelation immediately leaves An completely stunned. The Grand Patriarch explains that the coarse blue garment is actually a powerful protective artifact of the Beggars Guild. One wonders why Myogajang would bestow such a treasure, which his father attributes to her catching his eye. An is astounded to learn that the small, delicate girl can perform their clan's legendary palm technique. The two men stand in silence as the weight of the girl's incredible potential sinks in. The Grand Patriarch solemnly reveals that Seol's parents abandoned her to die because she lacks internal energy. A sudden, horrifying realization dawns on the family head as his father shares her tragic background. An is shocked to realize that the young girl belongs to the forbidden Myogajang clan. An protests bringing a beastkin into the clan, but his father counters by revealing her severe terminal condition. The Grand Patriarch explains that curing her illness could unlock her potential to master their ultimate divine art. Despite his father pointing out that she is exactly what their clan needs, An remains highly conflicted. Looking out over the courtyard, the Grand Patriarch eagerly anticipates seeing the young girl fulfill her massive potential. In a soft, nostalgic vision, young Seol is pictured climbing toward her future with innocent determination. The family head remains silent, deeply contemplating his father's words and the young girl's tragic destiny. The Grand Patriarch notes that those with Seol's condition die young, comparing her fate to An's lost child. The elder looks on with a warm, knowing expression as he observes his son's softening heart. The Grand Patriarch reiterates that An's profound capacity for empathy is why he chose him to lead. He explains that although Yell is stronger, his harsh temperament makes him completely unfit to lead the clan. The Grand Patriarch warns that An's repeated sparring losses to his brother are undermining his authority as leader. He laments that people easily overlook An's great victories over bandits in favor of a single sparring loss. The Grand Patriarch acknowledges the immense mental pressure his son must be facing before the upcoming duel. A crisp clack of footsteps echoes through the courtyard as An walks alone under the moon. Deep in thought, the family head continues his quiet stroll through the silent moonlit grounds. An suddenly spots Seol hiding behind a stone pillar and questions why she is awake so late. Blushing with embarrassment, Seol admits she spotted him from her window and decided to step outside. The thoughtful young girl approaches the family head, offering him a small gift to aid his sleeplessness. An immediately recognizes the soothing aroma of the special sleep incense his father frequently utilizes. Seol is left utterly baffled when the family head calmly reveals he does not suffer from insomnia. Confused, Seol questions where he was heading at such an hour, leaving An momentarily silent. An invites Seol to follow him, deciding that staying up late for one night is perfectly fine. Hesitating for just a brief moment, Seol quickly hurries to catch up with the walking family head. While Seol wonders if he trains at night, An suddenly asks if she has seen their clan's sword art. Seol eagerly recalls seeing the technique once before, which An notes will make his demonstration even better. An instructs the young girl to watch closely as he prepares to perform the legendary sword art. With a sharp hiss of metal, An unsheathes his sword, leaving Seol completely thrilled by the rare honor. Under the bright moonlight, the family head executes a series of breathtakingly elegant and flawless sword strikes. Clinging to a wooden railing, Seol watches the stunning performance with wide, awestruck eyes. As the demonstration ends, a sudden realization causes a look of deep confusion to cross her face. With a soft click of his sheathed blade, An walks away, leaving the young girl in deep thought. Staring at the family head's departing figure, Seol struggles to pinpoint a strange discrepancy she just witnessed. Seol wonders what could possibly be wrong with the clan leader's beautiful martial prowess. An suddenly asks for her opinion, catching the startled young girl completely off guard. An smiles softly as Seol sincerely praises his swordplay as truly beautiful. An notes that onlookers usually feel overwhelmed by his father's or brother's martial prowess. An assumes she did not feel overwhelmed, leaving Seol hesitating to find the right words. An gently stops her, telling the young girl there is no need for empty flattery. An confesses he trained secretly at night since childhood, though he feels nothing ever improved. Seol highlights his victory over the pirates, but An attributes the success entirely to his formations. When Seol questions what formations are, An explains it is the art of creating arrays. On explains his strategic expertise, leaving Seol deeply impressed by his tactical brilliance. Seol asks about using formations in duels, but On explains dueling stages lack the necessary objects. An explains that his brother is too fast and suppresses his movements with preemptive strikes. On laments his inability to block the first strike, prompting a sudden realization from Seol. Seol recalls reading Elder Myogajang's letter, revealing her worn robe is actually a precious protective artifact. Seol eagerly offers On her protective robe, explaining it is guaranteed to block any attack once. Seol tries to explain its Goyu, but On reveals he already knows about the legendary robe. On gently declines her generous offer, leaving the young girl utterly confused by his refusal. On explains the rare treasure belongs to her and is far more useful for her own safety. On decides it is time to stop venting his personal worries to a young child. On hesitates and pauses his hand just above the young girl's head as she looks up. On pulls his hand back, expressing embarrassment for venting his adult worries to a child. On transitions the conversation back to the worn clothes she was wearing earlier. On softly assures her that he never intended to be angry about the clothes. On admits clothes are meant to be worn, feeling ashamed of his emotional reaction. As On walks away, Seol resolves that she wants to help him overcome his struggles. The two stand in quiet companionship in the peaceful, dimly lit courtyard. Seol deeply empathizes with On's struggle due to her own inability to use martial arts. Seol clenches her fists with determination, resolved to aid the kind-hearted family head. Seol runs after the walking family head, asking to confirm the date of the duel. Seol vows to find a way to help On before the duel, no matter what. Seol confidently declares her resolve to help the clan leader in secret. Time passes swiftly, bringing the upcoming duel just a few short days away. Seol is left utterly exhausted after failing to find a single solution in her research. Seol struggles to read the borrowed manuals due to the incredibly difficult and complex words. A sudden loud shout of her name interrupts Seol's intensive reading session. Her playmates, Hook and Jiok, boisterously burst in to invite her outside. Seol reflects on how close they have become since she shared her secret with them. The two boys encourage the stressed girl to take a much-needed break and play today. Hearing their well-meaning advice, Seol reluctantly agrees that she needs a short break. The boys enthusiastically reveal that their playground for today will be the mansion's kitchen. Seol suggests simply asking for food, but Hook insists that takes away the fun. Hyuk points out she has eaten too many sweets to be given any rice cakes. Seol begins drooling as she imagines how delicious and warm the rice cakes would be. Tempted by the treats, Seol suggests taking just 3 rice cakes to share among them. The boys trick Seol into infiltrating, arguing a cat is far better suited for stealing. The boys warn her that the kitchen manager, Lady Lee, is terrifyingly strict and scary. Hyuk offers to teach her acupoint sealing to help her bypass the scary kitchen manager. Hyuk demonstrates the technique by tapping points on her back, tickling the giggling young girl. Seol is amazed to learn that such a powerful technique requires only a single finger. An adorable white kitten represents Seol's cute self-perception as she prepares for her secret mission. Whispering encouragement, Herc tells a nervous Seol she can succeed as she softly meows. The white kitten slips past a stone pillar, anxiously wondering if this plan is truly safe. Peering at the busy kitchen staff, the kitten notes this is her perfect chance to strike. The kitchen staff prepares special tea for the Supreme Patriarch while cooling down Namgung Do's rice cakes. Sniffing the air, the white kitten's eyes widen as she catches a delicious scent nearby. A high wooden shelf holds a platter of wrapped rice cakes, glittering under the light. Noting the busy workers, the kitten leaps down to snatch some treats while remaining undetected. Clinging to the shelf, the white kitten bites a rice cake, resolving to take 3. With a soft grunt, the kitten struggles slightly to carry the treats from the platter. The kitten pauses, wondering if 3 rice cakes are enough for Hyuk and Jaek. The kitten's eyes widen as she suddenly remembers another boy who might feel excluded. She recalls the white-haired boy, worrying he will feel left out if she brings nothing. Grunting softly, the kitten struggles to drag another rice cake toward the shelf edge. Deciding to take 4 cakes, the kitten is startled as Lady Lee enters the pantry. Lady Lee checks the wooden shelf and gasps in shock upon noticing an intruder. Lady Lee is utterly stunned to find a cat wandering inside the Namgung estate. The white kitten freezes in absolute shock, a wrapped rice cake balanced on her head. Realizing she is caught, the kitten panics as Lady Lee cries out in shock. Shouting to catch the thief, the staff lunges as the kitten shrieks in terror. Trapped, the kitten decides to use the secret acupoint sealing technique Hook taught her. Leaping with a swift strike, the kitten lands on Lady Lee's shoulder, startling her. The kitten taps Lady Lee's back, apologizing while hoping the manager quickly falls asleep. Landing safely, the kitten feels confident she executed Hyuk's acupoint technique perfectly. Before she can escape, a hand suddenly grabs the startled kitten by her scruff. Lady Lee angrily holds the cat up, completely unaffected by the failed acupoint strike. Shivering, the kitten wonders why the maid is immune to secret martial arts techniques. Busy kitchen maids huddle together discussing what to do with the captured kitten. Lady Lee decides to throw the crying, protesting kitten out of the front gate. The kitten weeps, fearing exposure because she cannot transform back into her human form. The kitten desperately meows for mercy, pleading with Lady Lee not to discard her. Nearby, the white-haired boy hears the kitten's pitiful meows and pauses to observe. Sighing softly, the white-haired boy looks down toward the noisy kitchen courtyard. Lady Lee is surprised to see the white-haired young master entering the kitchen. The elegant white-haired young master walks gracefully, capturing everyone's attention in the courtyard. Looking coolly at the staff, the white-haired young master stands in silent contemplation. Lady Lee inquires about his visit, and he claims he is retrieving his father's cat. The maids sweat nervously, wondering if the patriarch has developed a habit of adopting strays. The maid apologizes for the mistake, handing the kitten over to the young master. Holding the tiny kitten, the white-haired young master notes how troublesome she can be. The kitten is shocked to realize that Bake already knows her secret beastkin identity. Though relieved she is safe, the kitten feels deeply embarrassed in front of Bake. Lady Lee bows respectfully, calling out to the white-haired young master as he leaves. Lady Lee informs Bake that young master Namgung Do recently came looking for him. The kitten recognizes the name Namgung Do, remembering him from previous rumors. She recalls that Namgung Do is the formidable son of branch leader Namgung Yeol. Bake instructs Lady Lee to say he is out if Namgung Do returns. Touching the white kitten tightly, the young master walks away in pensive silence. Nestled against his chest, the kitten finds the close physical contact incredibly awkward. The kitten tenses her tiny paw, shivering as she tries to remain still. Bake sighs and tells the squirming kitten to stay still as she softly meows. Bake comments on how well the white kitten behaves during times like this. Bake chides the kitten, saying her reckless behavior is likely from hanging around Juck. Bake bluntly criticizes her terrible attempt at an acupoint sealing technique, making the kitten feel quite embarrassed. The kitten has a sudden realization as Bake explains the technique's proper function. Seol realizes she could never have used the technique anyway, as Heck had neglected to mention a crucial detail. The kitten grumpily realizes her failed technique amounted to nothing more than climbing on Lady Lee's back. Bake notes that the estate is crowded with visitors arriving for the upcoming martial tournament. Bake instructs the kitten to transform back into a human once he sets her down in the private rear garden. Kitten realizes Beck is choosing the secluded spot out of concern for her safety. She is deeply touched, confirming her belief that Bake is truly a kind-hearted person. She reflects on how Bake's gentle actions and warm embrace contradict his cold words. Nestled comfortably in his arms, the kitten stares up at Bake with complete adoration and trust. Feeling safe and cozy, the kitten drifts into a peaceful state in his warm embrace. A sudden loud voice calls out to them, breaking the quiet moment and startling the kitten. The arrogant newcomer mockingly addresses Bake as the precious eldest grandson of the Namgung Clan. While the kitten wonders who the stranger is, the young man greets Bake with fake politeness. The arrogant cousin is revealed to be Namgung Do, the son of branch leader Namgung Yeol. The kitten is shocked to finally see the notorious Namgung Do in person, noting his ordinary appearance. Namgung Do mockingly demands a greeting, but Bake coolly responds that he has been too busy. Namgung Do repeats the word with a condescending, skeptical smile on his face. Namgung Do mockingly asks if Beck is busy serving a beast, prompting the kitten to realize they do not get along. Namgung Do laughs mockingly at Bake's expense, clearly enjoying his own condescending insults. Namgung Do sneers as he claims to have finally understood the reason behind Bake's actions. Namgung Do cruelly asks if everyone is ignoring Bake because he is destined to die soon anyway. Bake dismisses the cruel insult with a calm laugh, choosing to walk away from his cousin. Unable to contain her anger at the cruel words, the white kitten begins hissing furiously at Namgung Do. The white kitten roars in pure rage, her inner child screaming at the cruel injustice. The kitten reels in shock as the horrific implication of Namgung Do's words sinks in. She remembers the dark rumor that Bake was poisoned and would not live past the age of 20. Recalling her own past despair, she sympathizes with Bake's silent suffering and hates how his pain is weaponized. Enraged by the cruelty, the kitten resolutely demands that the cousin not speak so lightly of death. Namgung Do is caught completely off guard by the tiny kitten's sudden and aggressive outburst. Bake gently tells the angry kitten to stop as she struggles to break free from his grasp. Namgung Do sneers again, mockingly suggesting that Bake should spend his remaining days playing with the beast. Namgung Do demands that Bake hand over the coveted position of young clan leader to him. Cruelly reminding Bake of his unavoidable fate, Namgung Do reaches down to touch the white kitten. The kitten bites Namgung Do's finger, biting down hard and catching him completely off guard. Namgung Do panics and swings his arm, desperately trying to shake off the stubborn kitten. Terrified but resolute, the white kitten clenches her jaw and vows never to let go. She reflects on the heavy burdens and quiet expectations placed upon Baek by his family leaders. Kitten is disgusted that Namgung Do would say such awful things just to covet Baek's position. She passionately declares that just because Baek endures his struggles in silence does not mean he feels no pain. Baek stares in utter shock and disbelief as the tiny kitten fiercely defends him. Namgung Do gasps in shock as the furious kitten lunges directly at his face. The kitten raises her tiny paw, extending her sharp claws for a swift strike. She delivers a powerful, direct slash through the air toward the arrogant cousin's face. Namgung Do is stunned as clean red claw marks appear across his cheek. Namgung Do screams in agony, clutching his bleeding face as the kitten leaps away. Namgung Do swings his arm in a blind rage, sending the kitten flying through the air. The white kitten panics midair, realizing she is about to completely miss her landing. Baek holds the white kitten gently in his hands, gazing down at her with calm concern. Namgung Do clutches his bleeding face in pain while the white kitten meows softly nearby. Furious about his injury, Namgung Do calls the kitten a filthy beast as Baek protects her. Namgung Do draws his sword, demanding that Baek drop the cat so he can punish her. Baek remains completely composed, strictly reprimanding his cousin for drawing a weapon in the inner hall. Namgung Do mocks Baek, asking if he is simply afraid his precious pet will be beheaded. Standing defiantly, Namgung Do boasts about the duel skills he had originally planned to save for Baek. Namgung Do points his sharp sword directly at the helpless white kitten, threatening to test his skills. Baek covers the kitten's eyes with his hand, sternly warning his cousin not to touch her. Baek glares coldly, issuing a direct and final warning to the hostile Namgung Do. Pointing his sword, Namgung Do mockingly asks what Baek can do without a weapon of his own. Namgung Do cruelly calls Baek a living corpse, provoking the kitten to grow angry all over again. Sensing the rising tension, the white kitten watches anxiously as the situation reaches a boiling point. Placed safely on the ground, the white kitten notices a powerful aura suddenly gathering around Baek's fist. A brilliant swirling energy envelops Baek's fist as he prepares to confront his arrogant cousin. Namgung Do is shocked and angered that a supposedly dying man has reached such a high martial realm. Baek continues to channel his internal energy, admitting with cool indifference that he is simply acting. With a sudden burst of speed, Baek lunges directly toward his startled cousin midair. Namgung Do desperately warns that striking him will lead to severe punishment from the family elders. Instead of striking his cousin, Baek punches himself in the stomach, coughing up blood in a clever ruse. The white kitten looks on in utter shock as Baek falls to the ground bleeding. The kitten realizes in disbelief that Baek intentionally injured himself while Namgung Do stands frozen in confusion. As Namgung Do laughs nervously, the estate guards rush in to investigate the loud commotion. The white kitten is relieved to identify the arriving guards as the elite Dongchen Squad security forces. Smiling faintly as he is supported, Baek reveals to the kitten that he orchestrated the entire scene. The guards demand an explanation from Namgung Do, who frantically denies causing his cousin's sudden injury. The guards question his innocence, pointing out the drawn sword still clutched tightly in his hand. The guards take Namgung Do into custody while he screams in rage, realizing he was completely outsmarted. The head guard offers to get Baek medical attention, but Baek insists on managing his own recovery. The guards bow and depart with the prisoner, leaving the courtyard quiet once more. The white kitten walks sorrowfully alongside Baek, keeping close to his feet in silence. Kneeling in the quiet courtyard, Baek asks the kitten what she was thinking by acting so recklessly. Baek points out the severe danger she faced, prompting the remorseful kitten to apologize softly. The kitten explained she lost her temper because Namgung Do repeatedly insulted him as a living corpse. Baek stares at her in quiet surprise, deeply moved by her fiercely protective nature. Transforming back, the young girl weeps tears of sorrow and relief before her white-haired companion. A somber memory reveals the origins of the slow-acting poison that has plagued Baek for years. The memory recalls the grim prognosis that Baek would not survive past his 20th year without a cure.
Baek remembers his mother comforting him as a child, promising that a cure would be found.
He recalls his father's vow to search the entire clan's library and treasures for a solution. The clan leaders had publicized Baek's condition to gather information, but the deadly poison resisted all cures. As time dragged on, the entire martial arts world and the clan slowly accepted his inevitable death. Young Baek once overheard elders callously discussing how his lineage was secured by other young masters anyway. Believing their harsh words, the young boy accepted his tragic fate in silent, lonely resignation. Resigned to an early death, Baek felt that any effort to struggle was entirely futile. A quiet rustling breaks the silence as the lonely boy walks through the dark courtyard. Suddenly, Hook spots him from afar and calls out to him with a bright, welcoming wave. Hyuk cheerfully invites his older brother to join him and Jarok for a game of marbles. Young Baek stares as brothers, his cold heart slightly warmed by their simple, genuine affection. Though he remains quiet, Baek's eyes soften as he looks upon the innocent faces of his brothers. In his memories, the young boy feels entirely disconnected from the world around him, unable to care about anything. He recalls walking away in isolation, knowing his remaining days were already strictly numbered. The lonely boy accepted that his quiet demise would go completely unnoticed and unmourned by those around him. He believed a silent, forgotten death was his only true destination in this cold world. Returning to the present, Baek looks down in utter shock at the young brown-haired girl standing before him. Sensing her deep emotional turmoil, he gently questions if she is crying. The girl stands with tear-filled eyes, her face flushed with sorrow as she gazes up at him. Overcome with emotion, the crying girl calls out to her as her tears begin to spill over. She suddenly lunges forward, wrapping her arms tightly around Baek's neck in a desperate emotional embrace. Baek is completely stunned, his eyes widening in disbelief at her sudden warmth. Clinging to him, she passionately protests his tragic fate and declares that he cannot be allowed to die. She tearfully wishes for him to overcome his affliction and live a long, healthy life. Staring at her, Baek realizes with a pang of emotion that her earlier fury was entirely on his behalf. He reflects on how fiercely she had fought, even going so far as to scratch his arrogant cousin's face. Looking toward the glowing horizon, he realizes his long-held belief in his own meaningless life is beginning to shatter. The brown-haired girl looks up at him with a flushed, intensely determined expression. Baek finds a sudden, profound sense of comfort in her unexpected and fierce devotion. Attempting to lighten the heavy mood, Baek gently teases her for being such a massive crybaby. He lifts her up, carrying her on his back as the warm sunset bathes the quiet courtyard. The girl pelts in adorable annoyance, a tiny teardrop still clinging to her nose. Clinging to his shoulders, she huffs and warns him not to laugh at her. Baek playfully claims he was only laughing at the beautiful sky, though she remains highly skeptical of his excuse. He gently teases her about crying until she was completely drained of energy. She asks about Namgung Do's fate, and Baek explains that the cousin will face severe punishment for his insolence. Baek warns that his cousin might even be whipped by the supreme patriarch, which deeply shocks the young girl. When Baek asks if he was being too harsh, she passionately reassures him that his cousin fully deserved it. She fumes on his back, declaring that she still gets angry just thinking about the cousin's cruel insults. The girl earnestly promises that she will always be on his side, catching Baek completely off guard. Looking at him with absolute sincerity, she vows to support him no matter what anyone else says. A soft, genuine smile spreads across Baek's face as her warm words touch his cold heart. Baek silently wonders what a tiny girl like her can do, but she stubbornly insists she will always take his side. She confidently vows to grow much bigger, prompting Baek to reply with amused agreement. Baek pulls out a small wrapped package, offering her perilla leaf rice cakes to help her grow. She is delighted to realize he retrieved the very treat she had desperately sought in the kitchen. She softly explains that she was only caught because she had tried to sneak some treats for him, too. When she worries about Madame Lee's wrath, Baek reassures her that the woman only saw a cat. As she happily munches on a rice cake, Baek confesses he is much more worried about his uncle. He explains that their actions directly humiliated his uncle's son, Namgung Guo. Baek fears his furious uncle will take out his rage by brutally beating his father in the upcoming duel. Hearing the word, the girl freezes in sudden shock as the reality of the crucial duel hits her. She panics internally, realizing she completely forgot her vital mission to help the clan leader prepare for his fight. She urgently beats on his back, demanding they rush back to their room immediately. Baek warns her to be careful not to choke on her food, utterly baffled by her sudden, frantic rush. As they walk, Baek quietly murmurs a name under his breath in realization. He ponders her true identity, realizing the brave girl on his back is named Seol.